I'm gonna get ready because I'm gonna get really piled on during the next episode.
What's the next episode?
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Mike, Will, what were your thoughts?
I'm gonna wait for you. I'm gonna go last because I don't want to get attacked.
He's hiding.
Yep.
I don't want to speak too much. It's fucking shit.
I know Will hate it.
Fucking shit.
What is it? Is it the story? Is it the writing? Like, what is it that you hate about this episode?
Okay, first of all, you have Fingering Man. That's his deal.
Had the pain
you have what are they called? The Eternals.
Something
What's
like
their
that.
deal? What the fuck are they there for? Who are they? What was their plan? Does anyone know? Does anyone know why they had detached fingers and they went into ears? Does anyone know? What?
I didn't think we'd see Will having such a meltdown over this episode.
We were doing a Who Game Shows recording, and then Can You Hear Me came up, and then I just shouted at Mike. I was like, no, this was bad. This was bad. Okay, for example, they go into this room and do you remember the scene where the sonic screwdriver zips up into the hand, like she's handcuffed up, and then zip, and I think, and it's like a deleted scene that they're magnetic or something like that. It's like, oh, well, that just looks egregious when you delete a scene that explains that the actual handcuffs are magnetic, because otherwise you just think, okay, the Doctor's suddenly magic. She can summon the sonic screwdriver up from her pocket into her hands like that. Brilliant. Fantastic editorial choice.
Oh my God, Will, I did not think you'd get this angry about this episode.
But the room that scene was in, right? The Doctor just walks in with the cast, and there's about 10 of them. You have the TARDIS team, and you have about 4 side characters that have just emerged from absolutely sod or anywhere. Okay, and okay. And then the Doctor just speaks for a long time, and Ryan just asks a load of questions. He's like, "What's that? What's that?" Okay. And then when Chibnall realizes that he hasn't given this certain character any dialogue for like 3 minutes, and they've been standing in this room just speaking a load of shit for about 3 minutes, and 3 minutes in a 45-minute episode is a bloody long time. 3 minutes in anything in one place of just exposition is a long time, but the Ghost Monument is 45 minutes of just exposition. So thank God I avoided that one, because I would have been pissed about that one. Where is she? Oh, she's wandered off. Oh, there's a fucking surprise. Why is she wandered off? Oh, because I had no fucking reason to have her in the script, because there are so many of them. In that one room, there's 10 characters. We criticize the amount of characters in the room. Why is she there? But then before she was even there, they had that little phone call. Do you remember the phone call between Yaz, Graham, and Ryan and the Doctor? They have a little split screen. And then they have, I hate all the, when they speak in simultaneously to each other, all 3 of them saying one word like, who? And then like that random woman comes into the call and says, who? And I was just like, oh, cringe. So this whole episode pisses me off. And I give it a 0 out of 10. Honestly, Mike's gonna give it a 10. Mike's gonna give it a 10.
You've
Just
established this.
Holy shit, my pen just flew across the room. I hope that was caught on camera.
Can we please just now title this part of the podcast? Can we call this episode of the podcast Will Just Rants About Can You Hear Me for a very long time?
One scene he likes. 10 out of 10.
Fucking hell, mate. Calm down.
Where is he? Where's he gone?
I don't know. I'm just going to make sure he's okay.
Oh, there we go. He's back.
Oh my God, that was... what was that?
Don't tell Will I'm here. Sure.
Oh, I'm crying. I'm crying from laughing at that. Wow, that was a rant.
It is honestly, I think it is probably the worst episode of Doctor Who of all time.
What score? Oh, 0. Oh.
I hate it. There's nothing remotely good. You guys give it a 6 out of 10, and you said, "Oh, it's good in concept, but the execution was bad." 6 out of 10. No,
I explained that
Series 13. We are here.
4 hours 22 minutes since the recording. Holy
This
crap.
one will be the least because there's only 9 episodes to get through here, and then that's the entire era done.
Yeah.
Only 9 episodes. Andy, we just did about, what, 11?
In all fairness, you did rant about Timeless Children for half an hour.
I'm sorry. Yeah. No, look. I just want to point out, you both muted for like 10 minutes. You guys could have just...
You could have stopped
I
this.
was desperate for a piss, and then I just was like, you know what, I'm just gonna let Will finish because this has dragged on long enough.
Fair enough.
I just thought better of trying to argue with you after all.
No, but the thing is, at that point, I didn't even want to argue. I don't want to argue. I just chatted about my passion for Russell T.
That's good. That's what we wanted. That's why I wanted you all here to gather for the end. I've got about an hour before I have to vacate this room, so let us...
Okay,
Quickly, crack on.
Shit.
Weird.
Oh, fuck.
Halloween Apocalypse.
Flux. So it's, a 6-part epic story-ish, and they all kind of link together. So it's we're kind of going to do them one by one, but also they will all merge into one mess anyway.
I do have an average for Flux overall, even though I did then do an average for Flux and the special.
You are a magnificent man. Halloween Apocalypse. Can I just say, I know he's useless, or in terms of ineffective to the plot, but I really do like Dan, and I think the four bears line will live forever in my mind. You don't look anything like four bears. Says the guy with floppy ears.
I think DW Poop are responsible for at least one of the points that I give this episode.
Is this the meme about there's no point in living or something?
What's the point of being alive?
That's it, yeah.
Plasterer.
Big up, Doctor.
Nobody needs soup more than me. It's
I love that.
the best thing to come from this era, that whole thing.
I like Dan, but as we'll get to, his exit is shocking. I think this is an okay starting point for the series. I wasn't disappointed with it after I watched it. I thought, okay, let's see where this goes for 6 weeks or 5 more weeks. It was distinctly okay, but there's a bit too much that happens at the end where it's like, we got this happening with the Flux, and then you've got Swarm and Azure, and you've got there's a Weeping Angel following this bird home, and then the Sontarans are here. What else can we cram in? Because I'm Chris Chibnall.
I think Halloween Apocalypse's main drawback for me is that it just tries to set up so much, and I understand it kind of needed to be a place where you could jump on and be like, okay, because without that bit with the Weeping Angels, it would have felt like out of nowhere that they appeared later on. But I do think there's a bit too much going on. But I actually do quite like it. I love the scene with Swarm escaping from the prison. I think that's really cool. The only thing I don't understand is what the fuck was Azure doing in Iceland? And why did she seem so pissed about this thing apparently summoning her? And then suddenly when Swarm turns up, she's all fine again. I didn't get that. That made no sense. But apart
Why
from
was she in human disguise in the first?
Why was she in human disguise in the first place? It's annoying as well because I can't remember the name of the actress who plays, but she's a really good actress. She was in season 5 of Line of Duty, which was incredible.
Rochelle something, I think.
Yeah, she's really, really good. But no, there's a lot to enjoy. It is fun. I do think it's a fun time. I just think it tries to do too much at once. But I also understand that it kind of has to do that because we've got 6 episodes to get through a lot of shit. So this kind of establishes it. So yeah, I give Halloween Apocalypse a 7.
Okay. I want to hear what you think, Will.
No,
I was being nice.
No, honestly, this is a bit of an exclusive because I've only actually spoke to Mike about this. But in university a few weeks ago, well, probably a month or 2 ago now, I had the privilege to speak to the editor of episode 1, episode 4. Episode 1, episode 2, and episode 4 of Flux. So Halloween Apocalypse, War of the Sontarans, and Village of the Angels, which are my 3 favorite episodes of this series. Because I don't like Survivors, and I don't like The Vanquishers, and I don't like Once Upon a Time. And I think I'm not surprised when I found out that the same guy edited those 3 episodes but didn't edit the other 3, because I think, for example, the cliffhanger of the Halloween apocalypse is one of the best cliffhangers we've had in recent years. I thought that was editorially brilliant. I was like, holy shit, because we had so much flung at us across the 45-minute episode to actually have that, you know, a coherent cliffhanger of everything, like teasing for future episodes. I thought that was quite brilliant. I was amazed to find out that the opening sequence, which I absolutely hated, by the way, and I will explain that there is some actual merit to me hating the opening sequence of the series. You know, when they're flying, Yaz and the Doctor are flying with that metal bar and they're handcuffed to it. Yeah, Mike knows it because I've obviously spoke to him about it. But that whole scene cost £800,000 to make, and it was only 2 minutes of actual action, and the budget of the episode was £1.5 million. And so over half of the budget of the episode was blown just in those opening 2 minutes. So there's a fact for you. And also, I think a large part of why that opening sequence doesn't work, for me, it was just a mess. But it actually has a bit more merit to it now, because that whole sequence was not storyboarded. The editors and the VFX people were just given the footage and be like, boom, there you go, work your magic. That's why it was so crap, because conceptually Chibnall wrote it, but it was just like a load of green screen footage of like them on ropes and cranes and whatever, and then they just handed it off and like, yeah, create something with it. And that's why it came out so poor, in my opinion. So yeah, the opening sequence, I hated it. And of all of Series 4 and episodes, except from The Vanquishers, I have reviewed on my channel quite thoroughly, to be fair. So if you want to go over there, check it out. But yeah, Halloween Apocalypse is bad, in my opinion. It's not egregious. It's like the 3rd strongest episode of the series, which isn't saying much, let's be honest. But yeah, it's all right, I suppose. I give it a 3 out of 10. But those are just some little trivia tidbits. And the guy who came in for that conversation gave us like an exclusive, like behind the scenes of the visual effects, and the amount of, you know, physical acting that Jodie and Mandip went through on that day with the green screen was insane. And I really, really respect them for that. And I really respect the team of the visual effects team for, like, I know I shit on what came out, but it absolutely wasn't their fault. It was not their fault. But the guy was an absolute privilege. He was very honest. He did the VFX of everything up from the end of time up to the end of Series 8. So this guy has been in Doctor Who for years.
I'd like to point out that George said he has an hour. And also, can I just say
that was a bit insightful?
Can I just say you started this by saying Halloween Apocalypse, War of the Sometimes, and Village of the Angels, the 3 episodes I really like in Flux, and then gave Halloween Apocalypse a 3.
No, I didn't say I really liked them. I said
you said you liked this one, and they gave it a 3.
I said they were my favorite episodes of the series, but then you gotta consider.
But then you gave it a 3.
I know. It's not a good series. Okay, so Once Upon a Time, it's like a 2 out of 10. So
Will, we're gonna get there. Can we talk now?
It's a 1 out of 10. So shit.
Fucking hell.
Do you know what I like as well? The fact that you said all that, but then was like, cut this. This is just for you.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm gonna say.
Don't bother putting it in.
The little bits that kind of could get him in.
Yeah, I'll cut out the bits that will get you arrested.
Chibnall's gonna listen to this.
You know.
Wait, if Chris Chibnall listens to this, I will get Chris Chibnall and Will in one room. I will do it. I will let Will beat the shit out of Chris Chibnall.
Will would kill him.
Oh, no, honestly, if I met Chibnall, I would just give him a handshake and be just like, fair play. But if I was actually given the opportunity
I find that very hard to believe.
No. But if he came into my university to have like a chat, because here's the thing. He criticized Chibnall quite a bit
God.
in the lecture and gave us this information about
Well,
you know,
we've
the
got
industry.
9 episodes to discuss, and we don't have the time.
Okay, but no, you're just saying this. Okay,
Fuck
But
me!
if it was Chibnall, he would just like say his piece, and then at the end, like I did with this editor, I would say, "Okay, good work, mate. But let's be honest now. Did you enjoy it?" And he said no. So I reckon if Chibnall was there, I would be like, "Fantastic job, mate. But let's be honest here. Let's have a real conversation about your work. It's a bit shit in it."
This went nowhere!
Mike, what's your opinion? We're all delirious from 4 hours of this shit.
Anyway, Halloween Apocalypse 6.5 out of 10.
Mike, can you please, whatever you're going to say, can you take ages and then just skip round the point?
Yeah, so Halloween Apocalypse. I like
George,
this episode a lot.
you've got
1
more
out
than
of
an
10.
hour, right? I mean, you've got plenty of time.
on,
Oh,
Joseph.
right.
Trying to move us on.
I am as well. I have been the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, okay. So Halloween Apocalypse is a 6.5. I like the setup of the companion. I like the Weeping Angel scene. Don't love the ending. And it probably should be worth about a 5.5, but Doctor Who poop got it the extra point. There you go. End of.
Will, you did, as I regret saying this, you didn't give us a score for Halloween Apocalypse.
3 out of 10.
There we go.
He did actually give us the score.
He did a 3. Yeah.
And he took a real issue with it.
Andy
if you
shouted
recall.
at me.
I was busy laughing at Andy being like, we don't have time for this.
Fuck me.
Well, it's all one story anyway, so let's just keep rolling. War of the Sontarans. Okay, I like it. It's probably my second favourite out of the series, but in terms of it, just I like the episodes that have less to do with the overall like Flux interconnected storyline. Like this and Village of the Angels, I think, are the strong points for that because they are just individual Doctor Who episodes. So that's why I like the, I just wanted to ride a horse. I like the use of Dan Starkey being a Sontaran in all 3 showrunner eras. I think that was nice. The new design's great. Mary Seacole is good but reduced to map reader, like you said, and Dan is probably at his most useful in his entire run in this episode. So I would say 7, 8, maybe 7.5.
Okay, cool. I've already mentioned my biggest criticism of this episode to Will a few times, and it's not the sort of thing that I normally do, which a lot of people otherwise do, and I just can't get past the fact that the Sontarans are bred for war, yet decided that the most efficient way to recharge is for everybody to plug in at the exact same time, which is the most glaringly obvious weakness of any army that you could possibly imagine, and the entire episode kind of hinges on that. So I don't like that, and I don't particularly like the use of Mary Seacole after her introduction, but I do love the other stuff, and the Sontarans are good, and it is my second favorite episode, so I give it 8 out of 10. Out of Flux, by the way, my second favorite episode.
Nice.
Andy.
I really like this episode. I think it's pretty great. I gave it an 8.5 out of 10 because I couldn't decide between an 8 and a 9 because I do genuinely really enjoy a lot of what happens in it. Yes, there's issues. I completely agree with your point about why the fuck do they just recharge at the same point together for no fucking reason. But like, it's serviceable. It works. I think this is possibly the most fun appearance with them as villains in New Who by far because I'm not particularly fond of the Sontarans who part in series 4.
Oh, I like that one.
It's fine, but I think this
Don't
is their
ask questions. We don't have time.
this is their best appearance as villains in New Who. I think they're a lot of fun. The line about riding the horse is just sublime, great. It's just a really fun time, and like Dan and Carvin is to have a really fun I'm gonna say really fun bond, but I'm just thinking of that fan art now. A very fun chemistry is there. We'll go with that. And they play off each other well. Not play with each other, play off each other. It's a good time. It's a lot of fun. I like it. Second best episode of the series. 8.5.
Just because Dan wanted to ride a dog.
Doug wanted to ride Dan. Will, go.
Okay. Initially, I thought Andy was speaking fast because he was trying to save time because he knew I was going to ramble. But then he just kept going. So I was like, okay. It wasn't for that reason. But I'll just keep it short. I think it's Jodie. Okay. Anyway, I think it's Jodie's best performance in Doctor Who, War of the Sontarans. I think it's second's best score in Doctor Who. I thought the story is quite brilliant. Like George said, it wasn't very connected to the overriding story. I know in Village they have the angels, parting of the waves, bit that kind of not detracts from the episode, but it's kind of there. But War of the Sontarans doesn't really have that. It has the kind of Atropos, scene where she's kind of floating in the blue, which is really weird, and I made some funny gags about that, so that was quite interesting. But no, otherwise it's like a really, really strong episode, and I thought Jodie was fantastic in it, and I'd give it an 8 out of 10, and I think it's my favorite of the entire Chibnall era.
Wow, high praise indeed. Yeah, have we all done that one?
And it's an 8 out of 10. Meanwhile, you guys are giving 8s and 9s left, right, and center, and I'm just here like 8. Yeah, that's the highest rating this Chibnall era's getting. I'm sorry.
Who is wanting to start on Once Upon Time? Once Upon Time, anyone who wants to go? Yeah.
What did you give?
I gave it 8.5. 8.5.
Okay,
We all basically gave it 8 or 9 then.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, roughly, yeah. So, Once Upon a Time.
I'll be brief. Once Upon a Time, I don't think is as bad as it was when I first watched it. I appreciate the Joe Martin stuff with Carbonister and everything. The cool flashback scene moments are pretty nice. Jodie's pretty good in it. It's kind of sucky in the grand scheme of things because it doesn't ultimately go anywhere, but it's not the worst episode of Flux, and I gave it a 4 out of 10.
I was annoyed the fact that it wasn't just Joe Martin in the scene. That it had to keep flashing to Joe Martin to remind you of, oh, this is in the past. Because I think if you'd have just let her have that whole scene, it would have just been nice to actually see her as the Doctor being the Doctor sort of thing, instead of the snippets that we've been fed before. I think that obviously a lot of this, in terms of structure and storytelling, is down to the COVID pandemic and the restrictions that they had. So unfortunately, a lot of that is these four were bubbled together, so we'll have to put them in the scene and explain why they look like themselves instead of the other characters. I enjoyed it to a point. I don't think it's very strong, and it, like Mike said, it doesn't effectively go anywhere. Like all the stuff we see, it is padding in an episode of a 6-episode series, which is a bit unfortunate.
It's nowhere near as bad for padding as Survivors of the Flux, though, which just you can lose entirely.
Not at all. But I would say that I would give it a 6 out of 10, and say that it's a shame that we didn't actually see more Joe Martin, but Jodie and co were fantastic. But ultimately went nowhere.
Cool. Andy, what about you?
I appreciated what it was trying to do, but I don't think it did it particularly brilliantly. The fact that it added another plot line with Belle and Vinda, I actually really like Belle as a character. I just kind of feel like their whole plot line just didn't really end up going anywhere. Which kind of annoyed me, but I did really like Belle as a character. I liked what the episode was trying to do. It just wasn't particularly brilliant. I completely agree with George. I think the entire thing could have just been with Joe Martin as the Doctor. I think that would have been so much better. Just have her playing the character rather than swapping between them. I think that would have been so much better. But yeah, that's. I think I get. Did I get a 5? I think I gave it a 5.
Okay.
Let me double check. It's fine. Like I said, it's fine. I appreciated what it was trying to do. Yes, I did give it a 5.
Okay. So currently I have given it the lowest score. Will, this is where you come in to give it a 1.
Wait, what did you give it, Mike?
4.
4, okay.
Now, but to build up on what Andy said, out of interest, Andy, I do agree with a lot of what you're saying. But here's where we do disagree with the Bell and Binder stuff. I think it could have been interesting if the child, the as yet unborn child, would have been the Doctor. I thought that
No,
could have been quite good. However,
would have sucked.
however, well, it would have gave some kind of explanation to.
Why do you want everything
portal
explained?
thing.
All
Anyway, what was I saying? But the thing is, my point was that it not going anywhere was absolutely fine because the actual payoff didn't really matter much. It gave some kind of like humanly roomily kind of element to the story because not everything has to be the most important thing in the universe. Sometimes like a family is enough, you know what I mean? Like the child is important because it's a child, because these two longing people are coming together and like lusting for each other, fighting for each other across the universe. So any payoff for them would have been good, whether the child be the Doctor or the child not being the Doctor and just being an ordinary child. Absolutely fine. And I loved the scene. I think it was Once Upon a Time the episodes with the mid-credit sequence.
No,
They kind of
no,
cut
that was
out
Village.
halfway through. That was
No, that
Village?
was Village.
Oh, okay. Well, I loved that bit. That's why I loved their relationship so much and their dynamic. But as for Once Upon a Time as an episode, it's shit. And I give it 2 out of 10. I reviewed it and I criticized pretty much every 1 minute segment of it. So again, yeah, it's just bad. I'm sorry. 2 out.
That's all right. Should we get onto something that I believe will be genuinely positive, which is Village of the Angels?
Yay.
Go on, Andy. Take us away.
No, I want to go last.
You sure?
Yeah.
Don Miguel? Miguel.
sorry, I'm
Mike-
occupied, so I'll go last. Actually, sorry.
Evil Dan number 1.
Okay,
fan.
I also choose to go last, which means all of us are going last. So
Oh,
George,
for fuck's sake.
Okay, Village of the Angels is my favourite episode of Doctor Who Flux, and then possibly my third or second favourite episode of the Jodie Whittaker era as a whole. It's completely unconnected to the main story, which is why I like this and War of the Sontarans, like I said. I feel like with an enemy like the Weeping Angels, every time they've sort of come back, something else has had to be introduced about them, but also we've lost a bit of the mystery, like when we first see them actually move in Flesh and Stone, which it was a bit shit, and the whole, don't get me started on Angels Take Manhattan. How did those people not see the Statue of Liberty walking across New York City? But it was nice to have them written by another writer. And it's a bit shit that it's like, oh, we're part of Division. That was a bit shit. But in terms of having the fear factor and putting like elements in there, like it's very similar to his other stuff. Like you've got a rogue version of this returning villain, like you had the Daleks, like you had the Cybermen, like the Masters, sort of. But and that mystery's good. I really love Eustace Jericho. I think he's one of the best supporting characters we've had in Doctor Who for a long time.
Agreed.
Absolutely agreed.
I was so sad with his conclusion, but he was a nice. But then it's like Chris Chibnall does. You've gone down to 2 companions, but then you've introduced another character that's essentially a companion. So it's like he can't help himself, and he just wants all these characters everywhere. Give me characters. But he's really good.
Should not eat characters.
I must feast. I must feast on these characters in New York City. I loved it. It's a good. The cliffhanger's great, but also the fact that it ends up just being a way for them to transport her outside of the universe is then a bit sort of shit. But apart from that, really loved it. It's you know what? Fuck it. It's a 10 out of 10 for me.
fair enough. Yeah. I'm sure those two will agree with you.
And I'm sure that one won't.
Oh, well.
To be fair, I've said my piece, and Andy, I know you watched that video and you kind of says, yeah, I kind of get you, but it's like not really affecting my thought.
Okay, fine. Let me
But
get
it's
into my
still
thought.
great.
Right.
No. I'm just
Okay, go on.
saying. But it's like it's not really worth the debate. It's like you say, oh, it's nice to get a different writer's opinion on the Weeping Angels, but then I just think, like, even in the Angels Take Manhattan, Moffat goes to painstaking lengths to establish things about the Angels, and he makes sure that it's sound in the respects that the Angels, you can't pick flaws in what they're doing. He goes to painstaking.
Okay, explain how nobody saw the Statue of Liberty move then.
But then the thing is, if you just disregards the quality of
The questionable formations.
If you diminish the quality of that episode down to 10 seconds of a cold open, then that's on you. I can't.
That's literally what you've done this entire time.
Yeah, you literally just diminished the quality of Halloween Apocalypse by saying that the first 2 minutes cost too much money. Oh my god!
No.
Right.
But explain the lazy formations in Angels Take Manhattan, when we know that if they're being observed by each other from Blink, that then they stop moving also. There's
Okay, so in Village of the Angels, how can
there's
they
two
talk?
angels.
The
There's
Weeping
two.
Angels
Let
can't
me
just talk.
finish,
The
boy.
Weeping Angels
There
can't
are
just
two
talk.
angels
There's no
directly
reason
behind
for
the
the
angel in
Weeping
front. So
Angels to talk
technically,
in Village
that
of the Angels.
that
Why
angel
can the
in
Weeping Angels talk?
that angel in front.
Why?
Will, let George say. George is trying to speak. Let him speak.
That angel in Angels Take Manhattan at the front is technically being observed by the two angels directly behind it, so it should not move because we know the rules of the quantum lock. Also, the voice talking thing. What about Angel Bob in Angels Take Manhattan?
Yeah, that's the thing. The painstaking limbs. It rips out his fucking voice box.
It's a TV show, Will. I don't know what to tell you. It's not real.
Well, of course, but fucking Cosmic Sin isn't real, but it's still a fucking shit film. Is it a 10 out of 10 all of a sudden because it's fake? Is this television? Is this television remote? Is this fucking phone?
Will, you've become Winston Churchill. Is this, I say to you, is this technology real?
This a 10 out of 10 because it's subjective and you say it's a 10 out of 10. Fucking no. Someone's fucking dropped out. Oh, fucking well. Oh, I knew this was going to get me fucking passionate. Shit's me.
I'm loving the passion.
Village is a fucking 5 out of 10.
Okay.
And I think the failure of it is purely down to how Moffat wrote the Angels with such care. And I don't fucking give a shit about the criticisms of what Moffat did. He fucking created the villains, so he can do whatever the fuck he wants with the villains. That's my opinion. So for someone else to come in, write for the Angels, and completely disregard the legwork that Moffat did for the Angels and aspects of the character, for them just to be able to do it is really dumb and disrespectful. And that, as long with other things that I did mention in my review, which I've just forgotten about because it's been so long since I watched it. It's not just the voice. There are several different things. That's the detriment to the episode, and it's a 5 out of 10. But that's my opinion. I'm sorry for running.
That's all right.
I feel like you needed to get that out. Are you okay?
Do you feel
I'm
better?
good.
All
I'm
right.
good.
Andy or Mike? Are you alive?
It's very easy to wind me up.
I've gathered.
Andy?
Right, okay. Complete flip from Will. As a Moffat era stan, I fucking love this episode. It's the best episode of the era. My favorite episode of Doctor Who in a very, very long time. I adore it. I love pretty much everything about it. I don't think it takes a dump on the Weeping Angels. I actually think it's quite respectful to the lore that Moffat made. I think Maxine Alderson wrote them extremely well. I think the soundtrack that Sega Nakanoli uses, this is the other instance where I really like the soundtrack. I vividly remember the music that was used during the scene where they're outside the house. I think it's great. I think it's shot really well. I love one of my favorite shots in particular is the one where you've got, I can't remember the name of the old man and woman, but like when they're getting taken by the angel and it starts with the shot on her and it spins around.
Yeah.
Like that's such a good shot. The image of like the the village like cut off with that cliff when it's suspended in space. That looks stunning. The plot, I think, is so good. I don't even mind that the angels work for the division. I think it's a pretty neat idea because, you know, if you're gonna, why would you not choose these practically unkillable, unbeatable like assassins, or like to why would you not employ them? Like that.
Yeah, but how would you recruit them? They can't communicate, and like they're, you know, like if you look at them, how can you communicate with them, and how do you actually get them to do stuff?
Kind of thing.
That's true. That is a fair criticism. That is fair.
They're a bit of a rogue element.
I think Eustachius Jericho is the best side character of this entire era. I actually really like Claire as well. I love every single thing about this episode. I think it's genuinely phenomenal, and it's one of the few times that I watched an episode this era and ended by going, "Wow, I need to watch that again." Like I was genuinely like blown away by this episode. I think the cliffhanger is the best cliffhanger of the era, even if it ends up being kind of redundant in the next episode. In this episode where it happens, I think it's phenomenal. It's so good. And the visual effect and Jodie's acting as she's been turned into the angel, I think is so good. Yeah, I fucking love this episode. Easily my favorite episode of the entire era, without a doubt. Easy 10 for me. It's just superb.
Okay, did we have your thoughts, George?
Yeah, I went first.
Yeah, George went first.
Yeah, I really love it too. It's one of those episodes that, you know, if it doesn't hit you, it doesn't. Fair enough. People can watch different things and have different experiences. But I just loved it. I thought it had a very Third Doctor, the Daemons type vibe, which I appreciated. It was quite like eerie and chilling. It's my favorite use of the Weeping Angels, but then I didn't really care for them, controversially enough. And yeah, I liked Jericho. I love the idea of the kind of dreamland where Jodie's talking to the angel and stuff. I love the base under siege elements. I also gave it a 10 out of 10.
Beautiful.
Next.
Nice.
This pile of shit. Who wants to start on it? Is this Survivors of the Flux?
Yeah. It's right. I'll just very quickly give my thoughts because it's literally pointless. It establishes Tecteun as kind of the big villain of the series, but then completely does it by having her killed at the end. It's pointless. It undermines the amazing cliffhanger from the previous part. It does basically nothing. The only good thing to come out of this episode is one line, which is the reason I gave it any sort of score, and it's when 13 turns around to that Ood and says, "I need to pull a rabbit out of a hat," and he goes, "I have no rabbits, I have no hats." That line is one of my favorite comedy lines of the entire era. Apart from that, this episode is garbage.
Yeah, I think we're going to be all similar page on it.
What did I give it? I gave it either a 2 or a 1. I can't remember. I gave it a 2, which I think I mainly gave it a 2 purely for that line.
Yeah, I really detest this episode. I've already mentioned that it's my least favorite of the whole era. It's so pointless. It can be summed up best by that moment where they take ages to give a message to Carvanista. Carvanista sees it and goes, "I ain't got time travel, idiots." And it doesn't matter whatsoever. You've just wasted that time. And that's this episode. It's a run around for nothing. It also manages to retrospectively destroy the Third Doctor's era because it turns out there was a working TARDIS in unit the whole time. That really bugs me.
That's something I completely forgot. That's the other big criticism I have. Craig Parkinson is a phenomenal actor. Terrible. If you've ever seen Line of Duty, he's so fucking good in Line of Duty. And he's
good in Misfits as well.
I was so angry with how much he was wasted. His character was wasted in this. Anyway, yeah, that's my other main criticism.
Absolute waste of time. Kate gets nothing to do. It pisses all over the show. Again, Tecteun there and not, just nothing. Complete waste of time. All the explanations we get, in so much as they exist, are neat. Blair. And yeah, 1 out of 10. And that's only because it's nice to see Kate, I guess. And it was cool to hear the Brigadier's voice.
Yeah, like you say, I think it's a waste of Craig Parkinson because he is a phenomenal actor. Like I didn't know if the Grand Serpent was going to end up being Swarm, like in some, like because they wore similar clothing or whatever, and I don't know if that was a change like last minute or whatever, but it was like you had this big villain and then this other big villain taking advantage to let the Sontarans in, but then you also had the Weeping Angels and that, and Tecteun is pretty pointless because it kind of sets it up that she is going to be the one that we face in, presumably in the Doctor's final adventure. We were going to like get the answers of Tecteun, like, you know, just hold on to that because I'm coming back for that, and then immediately she's disintegrated. I agree with Andy that Ood line is phenomenal because I'd completely forgotten about it, even though I'd watched it today. And like, that's the whole thing, like Tecteun, like, oh, like even when she sort of briefly appears, is it what in like episode 2 or whatever? Like, oh no, like not yet, like, and sends her back or whatever, and then she like obviously gets to her this time, and oh like, yeah, it could be Mother and stuff like that. And is that still meant to be the same character that the 10th Doctor sees at the end of End of Time? Because obviously that's presumed by Russell. Like Russell leaves it to the interpretation that that's meant to be the Doctor's mother. So is the Doctor's mother that we're meant to sympathise in that moment this horrible abusive person?
I don't think so. I think bear in mind that if you go by the Paul McGann TV movie, the Doctor's mother's a human. So
yeah, but how do we know? Because the where is the Doctor's mother from? Like, where's the father from? I don't know.
I mean, she's certainly not Gallifreyan.
I mean,
neither of them are. So, like, where would that come in now? Like, that's the thing.
but
Doctor Who continuity is a nightmare. Only Red Dwarf is worse.
Oh yes, but in the best possible way.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it's disappointing in terms of like after, like Andy said, such a great cliffhanger to be then in like, and here's an episode where everything that is said is pointless or just padding, because obviously that whole stuff with Unit is interesting but essentially goes nowhere when you get to the Grand Serpent's fate at the end of the next episode. But like Mike said, it is nice to hear Alistair's voice. So Will, 3 out of 10.
Fair
Okay.
enough. No, I completely agree with all of you, and I think it's really dumb that the episode is called Survivors of the Flux, but we don't actually see any survivors of the Flux, really. We don't really see the effects of the Flux. We don't really get any stakes, and yeah, I just have to second what you guys have said. I gave it like a 2 out of 10 on my review, so I'm going to stick with that because I haven't rewatched it. So yeah, 2 out of 10. Which is actually higher than Mike for a change, which is a surprise.
It's very true. Very unusual. I just hate this episode. That whole third Doctor thing really bugs me. I know it's a stupid, nerdy nitpick.
It's like a really small casual, but I get it.
Anyway. Do you want to move us to the Vanquishers then, George?
This is easily, I think, the worst finale in terms of stuff actually happening out of the Whittaker era. I know that Ransk Ravkalos is boring as fuck, but like in terms of, hey, that whole 6-week journey, yeah, pointless. Don't know why you bothered watching this. I don't know if you guys felt the same, but this series felt like it was made to be binge watched on streaming. Like this felt like it should have all gone out on iPlayer and you could have just all watched it at once, but still would have been on TV every Sunday.
like you could have
It
just
could have worked like that.
But,
I don't know. I think it's more just the whole COVID thing, and then the fact that, yeah, I think it does kind of reek of Chibnall. Just get it over with a little bit.
A little bit, and it's a shame because I think there's plot points that when you're watching it week by week, you're forgetting about certain stuff. But when you binge watch, like with watching it as a whole 6-parter, like the last couple of days, like it worked better in that context. But also, like, it's still just disappointing to know that, oh, this stuff that happened and these questions, yeah, they're not getting answered in the slightest, even though that I'm alluding to the fact that they might get answered one day, but clearly won't. I think Jericho's death is poignant and very sad.
I like that bit, yeah.
And I think, I forget the name of the actor, but, like, he's fabulous.
Kevin McNally.
Yes.
I think.
Him. Kevin, like, he does a fantastic job with it. I think, on the whole, I like Vinda in this series. I know, like, when he was revealed and Jacob Anderson talked about wanting to be on the level of, like, River Song in terms of a recurring character that is well-liked within the fandom. And I think had there been a longer series or he'd been in at least one other special other than Power of the Doctor, then I would have sort of thought, yeah, you kind of, like, I kind of get what you're going for in this character, but his last appearance we'll get to. Him, Bell, and Carvanista going off to be some kind of weird Guardians of the Galaxy team, like, I don't hate, but I like that payoff we never get. Like, we never get to see all of them again, or the as yet unborn child. The plan of the Sontarans luring the Cybermen and the Daleks there, and then they get all destroyed anyway. Fine, I guess you've kind of got to get rid of all these threats in the next 50 minutes. Sure. Kate Stewart stands in the background and doesn't say anything. Like, why is Kate Stewart in this series?
I think she has ear line.
Yeah, and apart from that, she's like the guy who plays the Mole Man. Like, he's quite good. Like, I get why he's there, but like a long-established fan favorite, arguably character in Kate Stewart, pretty pointless. And if you remove her from the episodes that she's in, does it make a lick of difference? Not to my money.
It feels like there's a ton of stuff that they must have cut because of COVID. Because there's that whole scene where she goes to the like informant guy that.
Yeah,
I can't remember, like, he seems like a Chavish type dude and turns out to be an informant, and I'm like, did I miss something? Where did this come from?
yeah.
And there was nothing before or nothing after about that. That was just kind of, here's that scene, moving on.
Yeah.
But on the whole, I think that Flux in itself had some interesting ideas. I just don't think the restraints put on it by the pandemic, and I'm guessing the BBC, and also Chris Chibnall for not really wanting to push himself out there and do it all, has kind of left it as the ultimate mixed bag and quite a disappointment in terms of, is a big interconnected story, the most epic of the Doctor's life, and it ultimately goes nowhere.
Yeah, definitely.
Vanquishers 4, and that's generous.
Yeah, fair enough.
I mean, I haven't really recently rewatched it. Well, I haven't rewatched it all since broadcast, so I don't really have any strong opinions. But what I can remember is that I was similar to George in terms of being perhaps a little bit generous, because I didn't hate it as much as the fandom seemed to have. Because I was like, okay, it's just like it's still bad, but it's not like terrible. It's like people criticize the whole, oh, what happened to the universe because of the flux. Well, I guess it's still a little bit ambiguous because time absorbed it, I believe. Not time. What's that? The Black Guardian.
Who knows? that's my biggest issue is that you called the entire series Flux and then never explained how they dealt with the flux, which really pissed me off.
They absorbed the flux.
Yeah.
But then the question is, what happened to the things that the flux destroyed? Was it reinstated?
That's the thing, and it didn't explain that, did it?
Yeah.
It made some kind of oblique reference to maybe it'll reverse or something, but we needed more.
Yeah. And then I don't mind the Dr. Genocide thing because it doesn't matter. It all gets fucking reversed all the time, so who the hell cares? The Daleks are literally in the very next episode, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah. Again, I haven't really rewatched it, so I don't really have a strong opinion on it. But I think you guys covered the basis and you got it spot on. So I give it a 3 out of 10 for the record.
Oh, wow. We're on the same page score-wise. I also gave it 3.
Nice.
I would have went lower, but I appreciated bits of it. I liked Jericho's death scene. I did find the whole Sontaran chocolate thing kind of amusing. The Sontarans as an enemy came a bit out of nowhere, but at least they were kind of fun. But mainly, I think I give it 3 because I loved the 3 Doctors scenes and the scene where time imitates the Doctor at the end. But yeah, 3 out of 10, not good. Andy?
I think I've been a bit more generous than you guys. I don't think it's great, but the thing I said to Phil, I remember when this first aired, is I turned to him and I said, well, at least it felt like a finale.
Yeah.
Which I did think
didn't explain anything. I don't think it did. No, too much is left of him.
I liked Jericho's death. Not because he died, because I love the character, but I thought it worked well. I did like Jodie's performance. I really liked Swarm and Azure's performances. I just wish they weren't fucking wasted. Like, I hate how their characters come to an end because I genuinely did like them. Like, they were probably my favorite thing throughout the series. I just wish they weren't so wasted by the end. And I didn't mind their idea. Like, the whole plot of them just wanting to relive the cold death of the universe over, and I didn't mind that. There's a lot of this that I think I'm a bit more of an apologist. I really didn't mind a lot of the stuff, but at the same time, I completely recognize that it isn't good. I will say, the one thing I will say is that I thought the idea of having the passenger form sort of basically absorb the Flux wasn't that, but I thought that was quite a good idea, to be honest.
Yeah.
I thought that worked well. As a way to absorb the rest of the Flux, I thought that worked quite well. And the idea of using the Dalek fleet as a way to basically diminish it enough so that it could absorb the rest. Again, it worked for me. But at the same time, I recognise that it does have issues, and for that, I can't give it over a 5. But I did give it a 5, which I think might be being generous. But I honestly didn't hate it as much as everyone else did.
No, a 3, a 4, and a 5 is fine. Yeah. Was the Vanquishers the one with the 3 doctors, and it was like
yes, that's what I said. Yeah,
bad transitions. Wait, what?
I like that part. I thought she was good acting over herself, but.
Sure, it's just like the whip transitions with the blue flare that kind of masks.
Yeah, the editing wasn't great. But...
as an editor, that pissed me off. I was like, I could do that. Like, if you gave me some, if I got myself some footage, I just chucked some whip pans over and then a flash of blue, it would have got the same effect. It just wasn't good. But yeah, that was really bad. But anyway, yeah, it's not the worst episode.
I do have an average for Flux overall then that comes out at 5 out of 10, weirdly enough. So yeah.
Wow.
So and if you can fucking stretch to a top 3, I know because we've literally got like.
With this. I just did.
Did you do it with the specials included?
I did a top 3 with the specials included. Yeah.
So funnily enough, I just did because I did my calculation including the specials for Series 13, but I just redid it taking the specials out, and it's actually the same score.
What, 5 out of 10? The same overall.
No, with or without the specials, Series 13 gets 62%.
Oh, mine massively improves with the specials.
So that must mean that a particular special drags down
the average.
Yes.
I wonder which one.
Could have been the second worst episode of the era, no.
No, I would say a question that we can sort of wrap this bit up on before we do the specials is like, in terms of a complete story, like from start to end of 6 parts, how do you think that Flux worked, didn't work, like given the circumstances?
I think my average speaks for me so perfectly that I'm just going to let it sit there and say, yes, it's 5 out of 10, as in not particularly bad overall, not particularly good, just there.
It didn't feel like the promised, this is the biggest story of the Doctor's life yet kind of thing. It was obviously, I know circumstance and whatever, but I just felt like there was too many elements, but also like they didn't pay off anyway. So like, what was the point of some of it? Like there was a lot of padding in a series that didn't have time to pad really.
Exactly. I can tell you my thoughts overall. Like when it came to deciding whether or not to buy it, my thought was, there's only 6 episodes and I love, 2 out of them and like a third. So I guess that's justifiable. And one day I will watch it as, just like you said, binge it and see if it works better.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm going strictly by quality, of course, subjective. But it's like, I think 3 of the 6 episodes, so half of the episodes, are like different levels of shit. And then...
Same, yeah.
Yeah, and then the other 3... As you guys know, I don't particularly find on the other end of the spectrum great. Like I think War of the Sontarans is probably the closest to that. But otherwise, it's just not worth my time to rewatch. And I don't really want to rewatch it because I know the plot is so convoluted and that really reached its climax and its peak in Once Upon a Time. And I saw a tweet after, it was like, if Stephen Moffat had wrote Once Upon a Time, you guys would have been raving about it. And I was like, no, if Stephen Moffat wrote Once Upon a Time, I think what the fuck, he is falling off. You know what I mean?
We don't have to always compete the showrunners against each other. There's other ways.
I'm just saying, Mike, you liked that tweet. That's why it came up on my feed.
That happens, though,
That's why it came up on my feed.
Naturally, they're all going to get compared to each other. And especially with Russell coming back, he's going to get compared a lot to himself anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, don't give me that opinion, Michael.
Andy,
Flux was very hit and miss. I enjoyed it for what it was. I appreciated what they were trying to do, especially with the constraints that COVID gave. 2 out of the 10 episodes are in my top 10 of the era. One of them being my absolute favorite episode of the entire era in Village of the Angels, because I will still say that is a perfect episode in my opinion, like easily the best of this era. But yeah, it's just there's clearly issues, but it's enjoyable for what it is, and I still think it's better than Series 11.
Nah, not quite.
Yes, Connor, you have not spoken in a while. Can you tell us about your thoughts on the Timeless Children?
This is the same night. I have no idea what you're talking about, dear. Insert Pinocchio effect there. Where do I begin with time? What happened to time, and why did it have to be children? Why did it have to be timeless children? And why was the Doctor... 57 years, why did they then decide to change everything that we knew about the character? Single aspect.
Guys, it's the Will and Connor cut.
We already went over this, so I'm not actually defending it again. You can go back and listen to the other audio.
No, I'm not going to...
For those who need context, Connor departed.
Why is it the Timeless Children? Why couldn't it have been the Timeless Ocelots or something like that, or Axolotls?
The Timeless the Timeless Otters.
No, this is the title, the Timeless Waffle.
The Timeless Otters, that's a very different show, George. That's very much in gay culture.
Oh, is it? Pertwee eyebrow.
I feel like that reference, I feel like none of you are going to know what an otter means in my culture, so...
There's a cubs, otters...
Okay, no, I'll give you credit, you know that, yeah.
Is there bears, or am I making that up?
No, there is, there is.
Twinks?
Yes.
I'm actually really concentrating and trying to think of this.
I think that's about it, to be honest. I can't really
Googling
think of
is what he's doing.
This is the weirdest episode of the Wheel of Fortune I've ever been on. I like to solve.
No, it's The Price is Right. You've just got a conveyor belt of all the different gay stereotypes.
Is it just down to body type? Is it like this is actually going in this?
So an otter is a very typically hairy, skinny man.
Oh.
Basically.
What's a skinny, like hairless man?
Twink.
Oh, that's a twink.
That's a twink.
Yeah.
Oh, what's a Twinkie? Is that just the cake or?
No, that could make a very rude joke here, but I'm not going to.
Yeah. It involves cream.
Is that a newborn twink?
What? What the fuck?
A Twinkie. A newborn twink.
Before we get flagged for some kind of paedophilia, should we get on to
the Twinkless Children?
Connor, Timeless Children.
Yeah, Timeless Children.
Twinkless
Your
Children.
General thoughts. Yes. Please try and keep this brief because Andy needs to eat dinner at some point today.
Okay. Well, what do you want me to... Well, no, it's...
Will's coming.
Oh,
quickly.
And so, Timeless Children, it's definitely recorded on the same night. I don't hate the effect. I weren't on the negative fan base. I didn't like it either, but I didn't hate on it. I went away from it and I thought, right, you've set the pole to the fucking moon and back. You've killed the moon, and now you better have some better fucking explanation by the end of this era. Jumping ahead, it kind of didn't.
You can jump ahead because we've talked about Flux.
No, we haven't talked about the end and the power that the Doctors were supposed to have.
Yes. We all kind of said that the payoff
was very lackluster, considering the ambition was like to the moon and back.
It wasn't even lackluster, it wasn't there.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Will we ever find the watch? Will it turn up again? I don't care.
No. Journey to the Centre of the TARDIS 2. That's how you're going to get the watch.
Oh, fuck that.
That's how you're going to get the watch.
I've gone on record as saying I quite like that episode, and I will die on that hill.
Well, that's a problem for the Matt Smith retrospective, Andy. This isn't a battle we fight today. Yeah, so like a lot of us, I mean, all of us, I mean, Will was very angry. But we all kind of just said that in concept, it's not a problem, but like you, payoff makes it less so when you rewatch it now, knowing where it ends.
Where it all went, yeah.
I think having watched the specials again now, I really don't miss not getting that payoff. I think Flux is the problem there because it makes it feel like it's gonna be.
Yeah, doubles down because just when it's like it could have just left it, and then Flux is like, "Oh no, Fobwatch, and there's reality switching spaceship with an ood in it."
Amen to that, Mike. That's my fault. It's exactly.
Yeah, I also completely agree with that. I feel like I wouldn't have been as bothered by it if it wasn't for the fact that Flux really exacerbated it to the point where it was like, oh, there's gonna be some payoff. Look, I can't remember what the name of that crumbling shack is.
Yeah, it was
Longbarrow.
That was we were just being cock teased, long barrow teased for that entire thing.
We were being long barrowed.
We were being loom teased.
By Tectayun, no other. Tectayun.
Your thoughts on Tectayun?
I mean, she's a woman, no. I don't care. Sometimes it's irreversibly. It's a woman, no. But Tectayun being the Doctor's mum? No.
Kind of.
Well, yeah.
Child abuser.
Yeah, child abuser. They're not confirmed to be the woman from End of Time.
Doctor's trafficker.
They're not confirmed to be the woman from End of Time still.
Yeah, we
Or in
debate. I think
retrospect,
we
is
debated on that because obviously Russell left it to interpretation that was the Doctor's mother, and we took that to mean the same.
You
thing.
say it's open to interpretation, but he pretty well defines it if you have the writer's tale book. So it's like,
yeah, but obviously, like to the general watching audience, they're just like,
TV,
oh,
it's TV only. Yeah, it'd be
but
like,
does that mean that? Yeah, like, does that mean it's Tectayun? Maybe and maybe not. I don't care.
Because after Timeless Children, I gathered that the Doctor was Tectayun, but then I know the kid.
What?
I just thought the Doctor was always going to be Tectayun until Flux fucking ruined it.
I always thought
Tectayun is the other because there was always a third person of. I've tried to go over this. In Time Lord Society, there was Omega, Rassilon, and the other, and now we know
there was
the
Alpha,
other
Beta, Gamma,
And Rana.
Optimus Prime, and
I'm really
Megatron.
into all of this history of Gallifrey crap.
Well, yeah.
I do admire his attempt to redo the Cartmel master plan, but
Yeah, but it
shit
didn't go anywhere. It just didn't go anywhere.
Again, I maintain it wouldn't have mattered if it wasn't for the fact that like every way that we're supposed to read media was like this Fobwatch is a massive Chekhov's gun, and we're waiting for it to go off, and then he's just like, forget about that. You blow it up, mate.
That really does hit the nail on the head. I can't sum that up any better than Mike just did there. That's why it's so frustrating.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of frustrating,
it's all. Well, sorry. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
No, go on. You finished that, Andy. Sorry, I
was just going to say it's all well and good doing this huge plot twist sort of story bomb on us, but then you spend what? Bear in mind that Timeless Children aired start of 2020, like February 2020-ish, just before COVID.
Yeah, literally.
And by Flux was like the end of last year, so 2021. So we've had like a year, almost 2 years if you think about it, to sit on this big plot, like this big plot point.
I'm
and
sitting on the big plot.
Yeah, it's like built up for so long. And then by the end of it, and like Mike said, we've got the Fobwatch, which is this massive Chekhov's gun, where it's like, oh, well, we know that Fobwatch exists. She's put it in the TARDIS, but she's probably going to bring it out before the end of her, like, just before she regenerates and stuff like that. And then it just never happened. And that's really frustrating. Because even though I agree with Mike in the sense that I don't know if we'd have been any happier actually with the payoff Chibnall could have given us, because I'm not going to lie, I don't really trust that he'd actually managed to stick the landing on it. I'd still rather he'd have attempted to give us payoff than basically just give us narrative blue balls and just go, no, never mind.
I see what you mean, but I'd rather that he just completely ignored it after the Timeless Children rather than just integrate it into Flux in a way that was so stupidly unsatisfying that it was nothing. Just bring it up.
I don't think I explained that properly. I was basically trying to say exactly the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like, you either just leave it after Timeless Children, just sort of leave it there. It's just this plot point that's left hanging that we can just sort of speculate on as a fandom. Or you actually give us payoff. You can't lead into it as if you're going to give us payoff and then at the last minute go, actually, no, I can't be asked.
The thing that frustrates me as well is that there was the perfect ending to that in the Timeless Children. Like, once you have the Doctor talking to Joe Martin and saying, as it turns out, it really doesn't matter about the lost memories because I know who I've always been, so I'm happy to just ignore it and carry on being me. That's it. Leave it. Just don't go near it after that.
Yeah, it's not like walk back in the room and say, and I'll tell you another thing.
Sod
Exactly,
the
yeah.
sod the fucking timeline about a show about time. You are the timeline.
Everything's canon
Yeah,
until
until it
nothing's
isn't.
canon. Yes.
But there's nothing to replace
Your
it.
top 3 of Series 12, including Resolution. Did you like it?
Loved it.
Cool.
Yeah,
carry on.
loved it.
Top 3 of
Cool, carry on.
Series.
I'm really curious to hear what Connor thinks of Revolution, because
Go on,
I think
then.
I think I was like the
There's a
only
link to
person who said I loved it.
Revolution of the Daleks.
John Barrowman Revolution.
Yes.
It's my least favourite Dalek special.
But you enjoy it?
Enough. No, until the Russell Daleks come back, then it's like, oh, this is good shit. Before the no, to be fair, criticising this Chibnall Dalek era, if you like, I was the only thing I,
I
don't
think there's
like.
some of the actual
only-
only things he's consistently written okay is the Daleks.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's just the new Dalek design in Resolution being the same bronze Dalek but petite and feminine.
It's cobbled,
scavenged. I understand.
I mean, it's cobbled together and he rebuilds it from scratch.
yeah, right. But in Revolution, I prefer it black with the red stalk. I like the red stalk.
I mean, if anyone wants to clip up, I prefer it black for later. You are free to
Feel
do that.
free. You obey.
I was just looking for I prefer it skinny from one of you as well.
Petite.
Petite and rusty.
Scavenged.
That's how I like my
subculture
women.
we missed, Andy. Petite and rusty. Was that?
No, that's just how I like my women. Petite, rusty, and willing to kill anyone in sight.
And scavenged.
And that
Scavenged.
is where we begin. What was Connor's thoughts on Flux?
What the Flux happened? Literally, that sentence was around when Flux was floating around. But honestly, in hindsight, in retrospect, on the rewatch, where we want to call it, the show fucking died. Like, what the Flux even happened to what just happened? They've had 18 months to come up with stuff. Bearing in mind, they were locked in their houses, like we all were. They had all the time in the world to sort of be in their writer's box and come up with at least part 2 of the Timeless Children narrative, according to them. But what the fuck did it even accomplish, really? What did it actually accomplish?
I'm with
It
you.
gave
man.
us a good Weeping Angel story.
Yep.
Well, okay,
And a half decent Sontaran story.
And I think the best moment of the entire era, chocolate.
No.
I'm just going to say
fucking
War of
jump-
Sontarans and Village of the Angels was largely written before COVID, so they were
I
going to be
did hear
scripted
that
series
somewhere,
13
yeah.
anyway. And just to let you know about the clearance and stuff that I can actually say and keep in the episode was that pre-production and post-production barely spoke and liaise with each other in their processes, so that may explain why it was such a mess with the writing and also with especially the post-production and the visual effects. Just checking out there. There you go. Okay, I'm Ian. Sorry.
Did anyone
That's-
understand
that-
a word of what was just said there?
I did. I
understood.
understood.
You're just not paying attention, Andy.
I think he's making up for last week by speaking very fast.
No, 90.
He's essentially confirming what we all suspected, which is because it was COVID times, the departments weren't really communicating with each other. So the writers would then send something to the visual effects guys, who would do something completely independently to the director of the episode.
Yeah, so
the editor, VFX editor.
yeah, Mike tracked him down and beat him up in a cupboard. That's what we gathered.
Huh?
I mean, oh, sorry, Will. Sorry, that was just.
I was gonna say I didn't do anything.
Yeah, you. So in all, you didn't like Flux.
Not this time round, though. I
What
sort
time round did you like it?
Well, I think we all said we were enjoying it. Like there was some missteps, but we were enjoying it well enough for the first 4 episodes, and then it was like, okay, that now we're waiting for the great payoff, and then episode 5 and 6 just fell off a cliff. Like, oh.
Shit the bed.
Yeah, exactly.
2 good stories. The rest, to shit.
I will say there were some parts of Vanquishers that I liked.
Likewise, but it
some-
still wasn't good.
Was it the end?
Yeah. There were some ideas that I thought worked, but overall, yes, it was. It did. In gay lingo, it flopped. That kind of thing.
No, there was things that he executed.
This is all I
well
mean. I'm just
within.
here to provide gay lingo. That's it. That's all. I'm the token minority in this stream.
Is that how we learn the gay language, by going on gay lingo?
It's the exact same avatar as Duolingo, but the owl's wearing lingerie.
And looks a lot better. Can an owl be an otter?
Anyway, Connor,
Oh,
what was
philosophical questions on our review of the Whittaker era here, people. Can an owl be an otter?
if you haven't got any more thoughts, Connor?
Yeah, Connor, did you have favourite? I feel like we're rushing you, but we're trying to get to
Well, you're rushing
the
yourselves.
trilogy. What was
the trilogy of epic shitness?
your favouriteness of Flux?
My fucking least favourite was the Grand Serpent. What was the point of him?
That's true.
Yeah, I said the same episode,
Oh,
which was Survivors. Yeah.
Survivors of the
Terrible.
Flux, yeah.
Apart from deconstructing Unit and bringing Kate Stewart back to the screen, what did he accomplish?
He had a nice jacket. I thought he was going to be Swarm.
Actually, I
Yeah,
kind of thought
badly.
that at one point.
Why the fuck did the female alien swarm woman turn it? Like, why was
Azor.
she trapped in a human in the first
Oh,
episode?
Andy did say
I
that.
asked
Yeah.
that, yeah. I was like, why the fuck is she in Iceland? Why is she a woman? Why was she so annoyed when that thing turned up at her door and then suddenly Swarm's there and she's like, hello, brother. And then they just kill the guy.
Hello, brother. I've been expecting you. That's why Azores go to Iceland.
I feel like that was very close to becoming a David Bowie impression there. Just, hello, brother.
Hello. Come into my labyrinth where we will destroy the universe and rebuild it and
Magic
destroy
hands.
it.
Whether you like it or not.
You remind me of the Babe.
You remind me of the Flux. What Flux?
The Flux of the power. What power? The power of time.
More coherent than the actual plot.
I've got no money because I'm Astra poor.
Okay, George, I've got a challenge for you. Can you recreate the Sontaran saying chocolate but in David Bowie's voice?
Hang on, let me just. Okay,
No pressure.
I'm eating a twirl.
The stretches for this one.
Eating a twirl.
He sounds like he's been
Chocolate! The sweetest
Chocolate!
nectar of the universe.
Oh, that was phenomenal.
Goodbye, chocolate. I nestled in your bosom.
Santa!
And he always asks, "Is there life on Mars?"
Life on Santa.
The Milky Bars are on me. Don't talk to me about a menstrual cycle.
This is the episode now. It's just us singing chocolates as David Bowie.
Why
Is
am
there
I-
any- is
why
there
am
any
I
other
the only one keeping
musicians?
this on track?
That is
Oh,
true.
girl, you're Maltesing me on.
That was going into Dalek realm. I see what you're trying to do here. We can take back the rights of Skaro.
I also realised that you guys don't have a picture. Mike has Jodie, Will has Clara Fair, and the first picture I found
in
was that.
Dijon.
Dijon of the Yukon. Go on, let me find something for you.
My heart will Dijon and on.
Near, far, wherever you are. Oh, here we go. This one's for you. At home.
What are you doing, guys?
What is going on?
I'm so happy.
We talk about the power of the not the power of the Doctor. What's next? Eve, the Daleks.
Did we end up doing our full just sort of what? Because we did
I don't know what the fuck we're
Give
doing.
me the ranking.
We-
Give me the ranking.
we did
I'll
we did
keep you
best
right.
episodes of the series and worst episodes of the series. So
We'll do that. We'll include the specials in that
we're
because
doing the
there's
specials in that. Okay, yeah.
I did it for
Okay.
both, but I think I already gave you my Flux one because
Okay.
of the Daleks. It's like it's on New Year's Eve and ailing bees in it. Ailing bee, beef and beans.
beef and beans.
Eat my beef and beans.
Just having a rest. Might put on the Hootenanny. Join my friends. Daleks have no friends. Yeah, whose fault's that?
The Dalek
bought
he puts his
kits,
gun, he puts his plunger away, brings out a razor and just starts cutting his gun.
Go. Let me in.
Daleks are emo.
We can make up our own laws.
When I was a young boy, my father took me into the city.
To see a marching band.
Is that?
Will someone please wrangle this tasty baguette into some kind of sandwich?
So, with the Daleks then, what's everyone's thoughts?
Right.
I really enjoyed it, and I think it's because Vanquishers was shit.
This was a palate cleanser.
I was pleasantly surprised.
I love
We're
Groundhog
going to be
Day.
on opposing sides, so we should probably go last.
That's not surprised.
The guy who kept all the stuff of his ex-girlfriends every year.
I mean, yeah.
That was a bit weird, wasn't it?
About that.
I didn't really mind that. It wasn't that. I was watching out for that on the rewatch, and I was like, if that was in any other era, that would never have been an issue for anybody. They were just looking for shit to pick on. The same as the people that were just like, oh, the bloody plot armor, the Daleks can't hit anybody in an episode where they kill people like 8 times. Come on, man.
They kill people when they've just given up. They only kill the people when they've given up and like, oh yeah, I'm just going to stand here, shoot me. That's
what
only
the
time they actually
Daleks
kill
do.
someone.
It's been the case.
Will, that's how life goes. You just give up and say, shoot me.
And then he teleports behind, what's her name, Sarah, and then she can still run across the massive
Can I
room.
say, well
And
done
then
for remembering her
they take all
name?
the fucking bullets.
Oh, I've just watched these. I can remember it all, dude.
Can I just say so much for George and Connor going first?
Yeah, sorry.
No, thank you. I pleasantly surprised, but maybe because I think my brain was just beaten over the head so many times, it was nice to sort of enjoy something for an hour.
For the sake of enjoying.
What's his face at the end was a bit weird, wasn't he? I've forgotten his name as well. Carl. I was going to say Colin, so well done. I hope these fireworks aren't just for me.
It's set in Manchester, isn't it? And then it's like Sheffield that he's from. So why is he in Manchester?
Yeah, long commute. long commute. He went for the fireworks. He heard there was a great store selling beef and beans and chocolate.
The overtimes.
Storage unit.
Oh, wow. Beef and beans and chocolate. That's a fast show special, isn't it? Really?
That is definitely.
Do you like beef? Do you like beans? Do you like chocolate? Then you'll love. Anyway.
Was the Flux stuff all out of the TARDIS by the time of either the Daleks?
No, they did. They started off with a little bit of unfortunately.
A little bit of the goo bags.
A little bit of the goo.
Little
A little bit of leftovers.
That's why they were getting out of the TARDIS, was because they needed to clear out the last of the Flux and get rid of the spare extra doors and stuff.
I was going to say,
Isn't that what broke the TARDIS?
Yeah,
And
the plot of this is very heavy on the Flux. Like that's why the Daleks are there in the first place, because they're avenging the
Avengers.
They're avenging the war fleet of the Daleks, because apparently the reason why the Daleks are still around is because they only destroyed the war fleets with the Flux, as opposed to the Daleks as a whole. So the plot is very heavy to do with the Flux.
That's also the reason. That's also the reason for the time loop as well, is because the TARDIS was repairing when it landed there by accident.
I'm sorry, but you mentioned the Daleks as the Avengers, and now all I can think of is Darth Mother, no, you weareth her drapes.
Take off that suit of armour, and what are you? Genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist.
You should have gone for the head.
And on this whole day, exterminate motherfucker. And I am
On your
Iron
left.
Man.
On your left.
Made of iron.
Enough.
Bomb by
It's been 84 years.
In a sonic sewer. Dalek bumps. And not to say anything, but they're very firm.
So, George, you enjoyed Eve of the Daleks just because it was off the back of Flux, which was certainly
yeah.
towards the end a huge.
Yeah, it's the reason why I think I really enjoyed it on the rewatch, and then I kind of came to my senses and was like, it's not outstanding, but I think it sort of is the middle one in terms of the Dalek trilogy for me, because I know we kind of went over that last time.
Middle in the Dalek trilogy, if you like, but I just think in terms of individual episode rank, this is above 6 to 7 out of 10, mid-tier, to the point where I can enjoy it and switch off.
Maybe a 7 at a push.
7.5.
I think it's just because it does something new, they kill the leads a couple of times.
A few times.
And the time loop aspect is nice. There's some, there's not too many characters for once in a Chibnall script, so that's good.
Before we get away from the Marvel thing, can I just do one more? Loki, get help. No, I hate get help. Exterminate, help me.
Help! My brother needs help.
Help, my brother needs refueling.
Your saviour is here.
Yeah, so,
Andy, do you want to go before these
Andy,
two
yeah.
fight it out?
Yeah,
just gonna
sure.
throw it to you.
I've just got to go get some microwave popcorn ready. But yeah,
What about
it's good.
chocolate?
I really like all three parts of the Dalek trilogy. I agree with what you said. I think they are probably the most consistent thing of this era. Like, I think all three of the Dalek episodes are actually really good. In fact, I think I gave Resolution and Eve both an 8. Like, I genuinely really liked both of them. And then I'm sort of I'm the odd one out in that I actually think Revolution's my favorite of the three. Just because there's a lot that episode does that I really love.
I think it promised too much and didn't deliver. It was like, what are they going to do without the Doctor? And she gets out in the first 10 minutes. They're like, oh, okay.
Maybe I went into it with lower expectations then, but I ended up really enjoying it. Even on a rewatch, I've still really enjoyed it. But no, I think Aisling B was probably the highlight of the episode for me. I really loved her performance as Sarah. She's really fun. I would not say no to having her back.
Could be a companion.
Yeah, I like her as a comedian, and I like her as an actor in like the stuff I've seen her in before. So I was really, really happy that she got an appearance in this. She was really good. It was nice to see the Daleks being quite ruthless. Although I feel like that's kind of been a thing in Chibnall's era anyway. Like in Resolution, the Dalek was very ruthless, which was kind of cool because it's not something we've really seen much for a while. So yeah, that was nice. I liked the sort of time loop aspect. I think it was mostly done well. It's just a solid, really good episode in my opinion. Not outstanding, but definitely very good and very enjoyable. I do like Yaz's sort of, I guess it's a coming out scene in a way, but it's not fully. But like, I do really like that scene. That is probably the highlight scene for me, just because Mandip really sells it. Like her performance in that scene is probably my favorite moment for Yaz. It's just so well done.
I wish it had been a bit
real.
more of her character. Like, obviously, the reason she's still looking for the Doctor is because she clearly has feelings for her in Revolution. Like, that's, the reason she's still spending those 11 months trying to find her.
Yeah.
But I agree with Andy, though. I think that whole I've never told anybody, even myself, says a lot, and the sort of the acting.
That's something I could. Again, maybe this is just something I personally can relate to, but that is very, very relatable.
Yeah.
But also, even though I do really like that scene, I think I said this before, but it's just too little, too late at this point. Like we only had 2 more episodes left of the year after this. It was a bit late to bring this plot thread up properly now. They really should have done it sooner. And it'll probably forever annoy me that they didn't, because it kind of feels like we could have had. Even though I'm not even that big into Doctor Companion romances. The only one I've ever really liked is River. But that's merely just because of how it was constructed, and because she wasn't there all the time. I think that kind of helped.
Yeah, and it was kind of like a tragic love story as well.
Yeah, exactly. But how do I word it? I don't like Doctor Companion romances, but I feel like if they were going to do one, I'm kind of glad they were going to do a same-sex one, because it'd just be kind of a new thing, and it'd have been really nice to see that get explored more, but it just wasn't, because it was done too late. So that was quite a big disappointment.
I don't think it was because it was done too late. They were never going to do a Doctor Companion romance, which is why you have the whole scene in the end of Legend of the Sea Devils where it's like, well, it's not going to happen because I can't. But
I mean,
Chibnall didn't.
He didn't even plan that. He only did it because Jodie went to him and said, "Oh, fans are saying this."
Say
And
Will, unless you have proof of this, mate, I'm not buying that crap.
It was in a magazine.
Wasn't it in Doctor Who magazine?
It was in the magazine, Mike. He literally said it. Jodie said it. Jodie said
if it didn't appear on screen, I'm not having any more dissing of people based on rumor.
What? It was on a magazine or whatever.
I'm pretty sure. I remember hearing that was in Doctor Who magazine.
I thought I read it. Yeah, exactly. Not by magazine, but by Twitter.
I have no idea. I'm just putting my 2 cents out there. I'm sure. Didn't we discuss last time that there were like little nuggets?
There was little hints at it.
Yeah. Like even back in, I think you said Arachnids. Yeah. Yes. So like, I feel like they were never like against the idea. Yeah.
But they weren't going to commit from those days.
They were never 100% committed.
Yeah, they were, and that as again, just from a personal standpoint, it kind of sucks that they never fully committed to that because we've had other Doctor Companion romances that have been fully committed to Ten and Rose.
Well, I mean, even that didn't really, though, when you think about it, did it?
He only exists because Rose wants Space Boyfriend anyway.
I was going to say, series 2, in literally every episode, you have the Doctor just bottling up and I love you, like in the Satan Pit, in, what do you call it, It's Lantern.
Yeah. They don't get together, though. I mean, with the exception of River, there's not really any kind of romance that goes anywhere.
I mean, he does leave her with a human clone of himself she can fuck whenever she wants. I think that's close enough.
That's that's a different argument, I guess.
Right there.
So, yeah.
Anyway, they're my thoughts. It's a really solid episode, really pretty quite good. Ashley Me was the highlight.
No,
Can
sorry,
we
I
do
didn't
this like
think
TV burp? Can we do this like TV burp?
One,
Where it's like we just got one on one side, one on the other, and then we just say fight. Yeah.
I'm prepared to wait until Will's had his run out.
No, you go ahead, my friend.
Who's shooting first? Who shot first?
I'm kind of not on the same page as any of you as such, but I
Lanky.
think I'm probably more on the side of you three. Although, did we get your sort of what you would give it as a score, Andy?
I said about an 8.
About an 8. See, I give it a 10 out of 10, which I know is going to be, the unpopular opinion on the other side.
Who's going to beat the shit out of you with that 10?
But then again, when I just rewatched it because I was like, okay, I'll give it a rewatch and see. Because sometimes, you watch it for the first time, and like you said, you were coming off the back of Flux, and I think anything would have looked like a 10 out of 10. But I watched it back, and I was like, do you know what? I don't understand the criticisms of this, and I posted that on Mastodon because I'm not on Twitter for Nazi reasons. And a lot of people jumped in and were like, yeah, we agree. We really like that episode. We don't get the criticism. We kind of think 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10 or whatever as well. And I was like, it's amazing how certainly the likes of Twitter and stuff amplifies the more negative kind of, I'm going to do a 2-hour video about Daleks having plot armor and stuff like that. And, the general consensus doesn't seem to have been that bad. But regardless, it's a personal thing, obviously. So I think I just enjoyed it. I thought, like you said, I like Aisling B as an actor and a comedian. She wasn't fussed, wasn't bothered by the whole Nick thing. It was an attempt at humor that was no worse than some of the attempts of RTD and Moffat, I think, in some of their eras. What else?
I think he just can't do small talk.
Well, yeah, but I think that's true of a lot of sci-fi writers, unfortunately, when they try and do like charming. And I get the whole point that it was going to boil down to the good-hearted weirdos, and then that would reflect Yaz to the Doctor, and that would be a kind of a nice way to end it. But it's kind of impossible to write a kind-hearted weirdo without at least some corner of the internet going, "Oh, what a freak! He's clearly just not right for people." And it's like, all right,
getting across that line, without crossing the line at least once,
exactly. But no, as I say, Pauline McLean, it was nice to see Mrs. Doyle from Father Ted a little bit. I was fine with the time loop idea and everything. It all kind of made sense to me. And I was also pleasantly surprised, like you, that I was like, when I was watching it, I was like, why is it that this sort of hits a bit differently? And I was like, do you know what? I think it's partly because Chibnall has limited himself. Like, it literally is just, 5 characters for like possibly the only time of any episode he's written, because he's usually shoving character on top of character and stuff. And it's like, oh, wow, it's amazing when you actually only have 5 characters, how you can actually write pretty well for them. In my opinion, anyway. But yeah, I enjoyed the time loop. The idea that they were they didn't have to dawdle around with it, which I appreciated, because we're all so au fait with that plot in every sci-fi and fantasy show now that I think had we spent a good 10 minutes of what's happening, time's repeating, whereas you literally just need Dan to go, bloody Groundhog Day. And you're like, yeah, okay, on board, understand. Yeah, so, and there's not much else to say. I thought the Daleks were pretty menacing. Again, I know that the criticism is plot armor and they keep missing, but like I keep saying,
not the only problem with this.
Well, I'm sure you'll chime in with what
Go on, then.
The argument of plot armor, I was just going to jump in. The argument of plot armor always bugs me because it never, like, when do they ever bring it up with other things? Look at fucking Star Wars.
Yeah. So only Imperial Stormtroopers are so precise, yet they will miss you every time they aim for you if you're a lead character.
Like, I think it just kind of has to be a given at this point that if your main character is being shot at, unless whoever's writing it is going for a really ballsy shock, like shocking.
Yeah, which this
twist,
episode does do, which is why it's ironic that this was the one people had an issue with.
Then
No, but
I think-
again,
I think-
every single time they die, they're just standing there like they accept their fate. It's not like they're running away.
Can I finish my thought?
Yeah, of course, mate.
Yeah, go for it.
Go for it.
Yeah, it's just kind of like you can't. I think people just kind of have to accept that plot armor is a thing that has to exist for these stories to be able to work. Otherwise, no main character would survive anything, and it's just such a silly argument at this point.
Yeah, and I mean, you go back even to the Daleks. The first episode though, you have the Daleks inexplicably shoot Ian in the legs and cripple him, and it's like, well, why didn't you just kill him? Because he's a lead character, and literally nobody's complained about that in like 60 years. So it just seems it reeks of bad faith criticism to me a little bit. But anyway, like I say, a lot of the criticisms of this era in general, and certainly of these specials, with one exception maybe, come down to nitpicks and looking for things.
I do agree. With Power of the Doctor especially, yeah.
Go on, Will.
It's just a bit shit, innit? I rewatched it yesterday and I did a massive Letterboxd review of it, and effectively I think it's
how many stars did you give it?
I give it 1 star. I'd give it a 2 out of 10. Personally, I won't like get into the nitpicks and like the technical stuff that I'm sure interests nobody except for me. But I just think, to sum it up, it's just an episode that Chibnall wrote for people that are like walruses who just clap at every single reference that they understand. In my opinion, I just don't think it's nuanced at all. I think effectively what I said and what I noticed is that, especially quite a few times in this episode, the Doctor just knows things she doesn't shouldn't know. For example, she says, "Oh, Sarah, like the time that's going down on your phone." How does she know that the time is going down on her phone? But she's never seen the phone. Not only, but we, the audience, and Sarah knew that the time on the phone was going down, but she didn't. How did she know? Also, this happens later in the episode as well, when she recites the speech that Sarah gave to Nick earlier in the episode about harmful materials. It's like, oh, do you remember this from earlier in the episode? Oh, I'm saying it now. Aren't we clever? No, it's crap writing. It's patronizing, in my opinion. There's also a moment later in the episode where Dan and the Dalek are doing a confrontation, and then at the very end of it, Dan stops like circling the Dalek, lets it deduce the situation, which is just the Dalek repeating what the Doctor told Dan to do a few minutes earlier, and it's like, oh, well, the Dalek has just sussed out our whole mission. I'm just going to stand here now and get exterminated. There's no point in me buying any more time for my friends. Like, I know that I can outrun this Dalek by just circling around it, but no, it's just deducted all my points. Just shoot me. Be done with it. It's fucking dumb. It's so stupid. And the thing is, how can Dan just run around the Dalek? Because we know that the blaster can spin at 1,000 fucking miles an hour. How can it just do a switch?
To be fair, it's not done that on camera since Dalek.
No, it does. It does do it in a Big Bang, and it's like made of stone in that.
Does it? I don't think the middle bit spins.
Anyway. It does. I'm not sure, but
I know it does
It doesn't do it in
quick
Big Bang. It does not do it in the Big Bang.
Okay, I must be misremembering then. But
it was Matt Smith's massive wang doing it.
Bent around it.
Yeah, but I didn't particularly like the actor who played Nick. I thought he just wasn't good at delivering his lines, and especially like he wasn't so with the way he said things. For example, the bits in the basement little bit, when he's talking to Sarah about the emotional bits, the Dalek is literally right there, and because he doesn't know how to, bring his voice down a little bit, he's just like shouting at Sarah, and I think, is this Dalek deaf? Like, what the hell is going on? But then again, there's cases of that in anything, so we gotta forgive it.
Dalek hearing aids.
Yes.
I say,
Dalek.
Thank you for watching the audio description version of Planet of Fire.
But there's also a problem that I know.
To select audio navigation, press enter now.
There was a problem I noticed this with the second time I watched it. It was with how Sarah randomly explains how Nick has a minute to live, and for some reason she is worried about that. And I thought, okay, well, that opens a load of different
Romance.
But this time, I was like, okay, so Sarah's mum, for example, doesn't call it a fixed time. She says the same thing, but by loop 3, we're well past at the point where she calls him loop 1 time-wise. And additionally, all the characters have died. So why the specific worry that Nick won't come back after a certain time, 5 minutes to the midnight? Like every other character has died, and at presumably different times. And on top of that, all the waffle surrounding that, like, oh, he's going to die in 30 seconds if you don't go save him. That talk about that, and like the subsequent speech about, oh, we survive and shit like that, takes far longer than a minute. So Nick's dead for all we know. Any tension is completely gone without suspension of disbelief. And like, despite the threat of midnight as well, there's no urgency. They talk for ages. There's a goddamn speech. Then it becomes hella convoluted with all the diversions and decoy loops, doing many things in a time they shouldn't have by their own design. The final 15, 20 minutes with all the decoy loops and stuff like that, I just don't understand why they were doing that. However, I will give it props because in every single loop, they do something kind of different. For example, Mike said earlier, they didn't really dilly-dally with like the explanation of what the time loop was. They got straight into it. By loop 2, we kind of got the idea. And then especially towards the end, about two-thirds of the way through, the Doctor and Co, go through the plan of what they're going to do. And then they like mutually kill themselves so that they can act out the plan. And then in that next loop, they all die and the plan fails. And that's constituted a decoy loop after. And I thought that was quite clever. But otherwise, I just don't like this episode a lot. And like the stuff at the end, we kind of touched upon it with Yaz and the Doctor's relationship. But Dan tells Yaz to tell the Doctor about how she feels about her minutes before telling the Doctor about how Yaz feels about her himself. So I don't understand why he said to her to tell the Doctor, but then in the very next scene where he's with the Doctor, he just blurts it out, not even giving Yaz the chance to actually have that conversation with the Doctor himself.
I will actually
That's
give
my
you that
opinion.
point. I will actually give you that point. I don't particularly like that Dan kind of outs her in a way. That doesn't quite sit right with me personally. Like, so I get that criticism.
But Dan has to do something.
Of course.
What was your score? Was it 2 out of 10?
2 out of 10. I've got one final note. Please indulge me. It's only a small point. Well, 2 notes actually. And
Will, everyone, remember Will said that this is a small point.
Small point, yeah. We'll be
2 small points.
Give us 20 minutes. Give us 20 minutes.
Okay, 2 small points. They're just bullet points. Was there only 3 bits of music in this? The Mad Rush music when they started running, and the sentimental music with all the scenes with Sarah and Nick, and of course the
Sarah and Dan. Fucking on the beef and beans.
Yes. And of course the piece that plays at the end during the fireworks. Like, damn, I was getting whiplash with the same 2 cues over and over again when they were running, and then when the sentimental ambience, like, fantastic. Fuck off. Also, like Mike said, with War of the Sontarans, with the entire episode boiling down to one plot point at the end in terms of the resolution, I get the same point in this one, in the way that early in the episode, it establishes that the perimeter of the building was force-fielded, right? They can't get out any of the building because it's force-fielded, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
No,
So
they
it's
didn't say that at all. They said the front entrance had a force field on it.
not at all. The Doctor said the Daleks have force-fielded the perimeter of this building. I noted that specifically in my notes. And I was like, okay, so at the end of the episode, the second exit, well, that wasn't force-fielded. The whole building was force-fielded, except from the bit where they escaped. And I was like, wow, okay, well, that's a load of bullshit. So yeah, it's 2 out of 10 for me. It's a load of crap, and you cannot, after all of that, boil it down to plot armor.
Okay.
Can I just say, I love that you started this section saying that people get too nitpicky about these specials, and then just spent a good 15 minutes nitpicking this entire episode.
We're about to let
That
him
wasn't
loose.
me saying that, just so everybody knows.
Listen, we're about to let him loose because you might as well carry on with Legend of the Sea Devils, Will.
Legend of the Sea Devils, All Power of the Doctor. All I know is that with Legend of the Sea Devils, there's about 5 different plots. 4 of them are complete bullshit, and then 1 is feasible for about 10 seconds. Literally, when I was watching the episode, Chibnall kept cramming a load of ideas on top of each other, and I thought, this makes no fucking sense. What the hell is going on? And then about 10 seconds of waffle about the plot and whatever. I was like, okay, that's feasible. And then it descends into shit again. And I thought, okay, that's a load of crap. So the entire sci-fi plot of the episode, completely write that off. 45 minutes of the 50-minute or 49-minute episode is a load of shit. The scene at the end on the beach, yeah, sure. Chibnall, classic Chibnall, doing characters well, like he did in Broadchurch, like he did in Power of Three. But in terms of the actual plot, like the Power of Three, for example, It's a load of crap, and the resolution is not all that. I give it a 3 out of 10. So
That's
conversely,
fair. I think
You
that's generous, to be
scored
fair.
this better than Eve of the Daleks? Jesus Christ!
Okay, so I just think even if the Daleks is a mess, and I disagree with the point of nitpicks because I did like purposely miss out about 6 or 7 different points as well because I thought they were nitpicks. So if you
Will, it's fine. We believe you.
Go into them. I've got to get dinner at some point.
but effectively, Legend of the Sea Devils.
And it was
45
badly
minutes
edited.
was bad. It was the scene where they have that sword fight. Don't let the swords touch your skin. Like bullshit, fucking crap. Like all
But
you.
did you like how high they could jump?
Big finish.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
new for the-
It's like
that's new
how
for the
high
lore.
they can jump. Yeah.
3 out of 10.
That's all I've got. I haven't rewatched them. Sorry.
Mike,
Hello, what?
do you want to talk about the Legend of the Sea Devils?
How legendary would you rank
It's
it?
one of those rare cases where me and Will aren't a million miles apart for once. In
Oh my God, everyone.
The Daleks.
Sound the cloister bell. The bad times are coming.
I think I had a conversation with Will about it where I was like, I did rewatch it and was like, because I don't want to, and with my scores being put under Will's microscope as they frequently are, I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to justify my score one way or the other. And rewatching it, yeah, exactly, kind of what he says is true. There is one good plot. Unfortunately, it's buried within 4 crap plots that aren't necessary. It feels like it needed a rewrite from somebody with even
From someone.
Absolutely,
Anyone.
absolutely. Yeah.
anybody with the
Yeah.
slightest bit of writing talent whatsoever to
But
just
5
go,
out of
okay,
10,
you don't
everyone.
need-
Chris Chibnall looks out the window like A Christmas Carol. You boy, can you write Legend of the Sea Devils? What day is this?
But no, I mean, I've had 2 writers. But having said, I mean, yeah, so that there is a lot of kind of, all right, you don't need this and you don't need this and blah, blah, blah. And I kind of did say to Will at the time when I was kind of just after I'd watched it and was like, even in my head, off the top of my head, I could do a rewrite on this episode, cut out a load of it and make it so much better just with a quick
And what you
streamline.
said was absolutely right. By the way, what you sent me, it was
Yeah, I can't remember what I'd said. And I basically said, you don't need Madam Ching, but of course it's this era, so we need inexplicable, historical figures, usually female. But if you just have the kind of the guy whose dad dies, have him be the one that retrieves the gemstone thing, then have him feel guilty about the death of his father because it's kind of his fault. So then you have him tag along with the Doctor, Yaz, and Dan to the Sea Devils that he's now freed. And then you also don't need the captain guy to be the one who, again, everybody's nitpicking in this sort of like, I'll stay here and die for you, Doctor, because it's not
Because
my
my
place.
name is. It translates to Ko Shamus.
Yeah, exactly. But so if you have that guy feeling guilty, then it makes a lot more character sense for him to be like, no, I owe a penance because I got my dad killed and it's my fault they're free, so I'll stay here. And that it's just such a more breezy episode. You can get it in and out of it. You can give yourself more time for character.
I like the pun that I like the backhanded pun, Mike. Breezy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I like it.
Indeed.
I think
but
that
no, I mean-
despite it. Yeah, sorry, carry on.
Sorry. No, I was just going to say, if somebody else had pointed out again when I posted on social media about it, that it just seems weird that, like, again, they've give the Sea Devils, and Will alluded to that as well, like these swords that can't touch your skin that they've never had before, this inexplicable ability to jump about 80 feet in the air, a sea monster that has no purpose in being there, but isn't a merca.
Oh,
yeah,
that was a
yeah,
cop-out.
yeah, exactly. Yes.
The ability to completely retrofit ships, a massive base under the sea and everything. And it's like, they're so different than anything we've seen before that, like, why even make them Sea Devils other than kind of, I guess, to Will's point, you wanted the audience at the end of Eve of the Daleks to go, woo, look at Return.
Yeah, reason to watch. Yeah, reason to watch this crap.
That was done with prosthetics and obviously like the CGI for the mouths and the eyes and stuff. But
I will say that I was
predominantly,
super
looks
impressed. I was super impressed with the CGI because I don't particularly love how completely different the Silurians look in the new era compared to the classic ones. So I appreciated that the Sea Devils remained basically 100% faithful, but they were able to move their mouth and eyes and stuff because of CG. So I was like, okay, that part of it I'll give you, but yeah, it just seemed. But having said that, like I said, the actual central plot I liked when I rewatched it, and I sat down and was like, if you do kind of explain this better and it's your only focus, that like kind of they developed this gem to flood the world, but then they were stopped because a pirate got hold of it and it got lost in treasure, and then he was entombed in the stone, and now he's free and he wants to do it. And it's like that's a decent plot for an episode, and I'm fine with that. But then, like I said, I don't need the detour of now we're on Madame Ching's ship and her entire crew has been kidnapped, so she needs to be there, and now we're going back in time to the Flor de la Mar, and he's with the Sea Devils, but no, it turns out no, he's not, and now he's with us. He's been frozen for all these years, and I'm like, again,
There
it's
is
just
too much
plot
going
top
on
of
at
plot.
once.
You don't need it at all. Having said that, I did enjoy watching it a lot more than, as I've said, like a lot of Series 11 episodes, or even like things like Praxeus in Series 12, which was just boring. So, because whatever it is, at least it's not boring. It's a mess, but at least
It's a visual mess, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's engaging though. But it is a visual mess.
see, I think
There's
it is
things
engaging when
happening.
if you know what you're looking for the second time and you kind of know what to latch onto. I think it can be engaging, and at least it is only sort of 45, 50 minutes. Even though I do think, and again, I said this on
It's
social
missing
media,
loads.
I think you could easily have made a two-parter out of it, and probably should have, streamlined it into something pretty decent. But yeah, it's just a shame.
But as choppy
Having,
as much as there is, it feels like there's a big chunk of it missing because it's like it's edited to the fucking bone. There must be so much.
I wasn't. I was looking out for that because I'd heard this like rumor again about like there was 9 minutes left on the cutting room floor, and I was like, okay, I want to see if I can figure out where it is.
Only 9 minutes. Only 9 minutes.
Yeah. But I mean, looking for where it is in the episode, there's one obvious point, and it's kind of for, I presume, graphic violence reasons, because it's edited terribly when the Sea Devil first busts out of the armor, the sword statue thing, and slaughters the entire village, and literally all you just see is flash of sword, flash of sword, flash of sword, about 40 bodies on the floor. And I'm like, okay, that's been cut to shit, because they were obviously like, well, we can't show it because it's so violent and whatever else, I guess. But other than that, I couldn't really see where they'd cut something. It was just, I think, paced in such a way that it feels like things are cut because everything was moving at 100 miles an hour for no reason.
There was about 500 different cuts during the sword fight.
Yeah, for the same reason, probably. Like they probably thought, oh, it's a bit violent.
Like, this wasn't. No, it's probably like this wasn't filmed particularly well, so we have to mask it by just cutting around it like 1,000 times. Because no shot in that lasted like 2 seconds. It was all 1 second cut, 1 second cut. Not even a second sometimes.
Yeah.
Genuinely, you can make a drinking game of that. You can make a drinking game out of how many fucking shots in the sword fight in the action sequence.
And again, I my score for it would be 5 out of 10, which Will takes great offense to, because, like I say, I think I like the central plot. It's still at least entertaining and engrossing. The effects on the actual monsters were decent, and I think there's a couple of really good scenes that, if you divorce them from the episode, are really like sweet and good. Not just the end scene, which is fantastic, and it's a better ending for Dan than Power of the Doctor. Much as I didn't mind that, I kind of feel when I rewatched it this time around, I felt like, and maybe I'm wrong, my speculation would be that Power of the Doctor was written first, because it feels like he's given great endings to the Doctor and Yaz's kind of non-romance and Dan in the episode before the actual last episode. But
I wouldn't be
I
surprised.
like those scenes. I like those scenes, and I liked the scene of them underwater and the whole kind of "I'm not a bad date" kind of thing. And some of the humor hit for me as well. So,
well, just to build on that, I do think, I think it handled Yaz and the Doctor better than 11 and Clara. And whilst I like 11 and Clara, to have them two be so, into each other, like the season after him and Riversong get married, it's like, okay, Riversong was like an afterthought in this whole situation with Stephen Moffat right in Series 7B, whereas with Legend of the Sea Devils, I have to give it his credit because they give so much care to the Doctor's marriage to River and stuff like that. There's very explicit references to that, and I think that's handled well, and that's why, alongside the beach scene, I'd give it a 3 as opposed to like a 1, because there is some redeemable qualities to it, and that's a recurrent thing.
So yeah,
Andy,
do you want to go next while I try and find my tablet, which I seem to have misplaced with all my notes?
okay, I will say I echo a lot of Mike and Will's thoughts on, it's a mess. It's not like boring, but I just didn't really sort of gel with it. It was kind of one of those ones like, it's on. So it's also because I think the whole marketing for the fucking specials in itself was just
lackluster.
Yeah, it was like a couple of weeks out, we're gonna say when it's on, and then suddenly promote it. But then
It just constantly made me look like an idiot
like, "It's coming, guys! Stop being so impatient," and then it just didn't happen. So I looked like a dick.
But I just think, yeah, it was a. I think if it had been anyone else other than the Sea Devils, would it have made a difference?
Oh,
not really.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
It could have been the fucking Pating or the Skithra or anything else. Like,
Tim Shaw again.
Could have been Tim Shaw
He's
again. Maybe get some fucking payoff to that. Yeah.
Yeah, his little fucking underwater gang.
Me again. I'm back.
New set of teeth.
I fought my friend David Bowie.
Sorry, but you guys saying that you cut this if no one knows what this is. But have any of you guys seen Kay's Cooking?
No.
No.
Right. Okay. Get it then. It's a really shit cooking channel on YouTube who went viral because she's really bad, but she starts.
Oh no! Yes. Yeah, because yeah, Mr. Memulus did a video on it.
Yeah, Mila did a video on it. She's from around my area as well, so she has like a proper Yorkshire accent, but she sounds like she works 50 a day, and it just made me think of it from when you said that, because at the start of every video she just goes, "Hi people, and I'm back cooking again," and that's all I can think of. That's all I can think of then.
Nice.
I'm gonna send you all some Kay's Cooking to watch. I'm gonna send you all some Kay's Cooking.
I still have to find the Key and Peele writing of Gremlins 2 sketch to send to George because he's never seen
Yes,
it.
please. I love Justice for Gremlins 2. Yeah, 2 out of 10. I think it's just like you said. I think written.
You gave it a lower score than Will.
It's written after. It must have been written after the Power of the Doctor, because, like you say, the resolution for Dan is much better.
Absolutely, yeah.
And it's a shame because I really like Dan as a companion, but I think beyond Flux, like, what was the point?
Yeah, I'm good at this. No longer.
But he's
the audience point of view in episode 1.
And he's got a walk, yeah. And also, I had a more understanding of Dan as a character in like the first 2 episodes of Flux than I did for the whole of Ryan and Graham.
The 16 other plots.
I connected with more of him as a character. Do we have time? Yes. What is it? He was
Yeah,
back.
I swear they commissioned this after Legend of the Sea Devils was filmed. Because I thought Legend of the Sea Devils
Power
was
of the
filmed.
Doctor was filmed, you mean?
No. Legend of the Sea Devils was filmed, and then they commissioned the extra special.
I heard the same thing, but I'd heard that it was the other way around. Like they'd already done Power of the Doctor to be the last one, then they were told to do an extra special, shunted that to be the centenary, and then wrote Sea Devils to kind of fit in the now existing gap, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
kind of that's how it seems to me. But I'm basing it on nothing.
Because I could have sworn they wrapped on Legend of the Sea Devils, and then we got all the leaked pictures of like Graham and Dan being together like months after. So I thought that came after. I don't know.
I feel
like you sent me the stuff about like the master props and stuff from Power of the Doctor way before they'd even announced Legend of the Sea Devils.
Connor, your thoughts on Sea Devils?
I mean,
because we still have one more episode to do.
It's not the Titanic. It didn't completely sink on a rewatch. I feel like I processed enough of the plot. There was 3 or 4 plots too many that weren't needed. Again, should have been a 2-parter. Everything that's been said, copy and paste. However, when it comes to the score, I'm leaning towards the Mike side, but I'm going to give it a 4.5. I'm not going to be that nice to it. I mean,
I'll be honest. I'd happily go down to a 4 if Will would go up to a 4. Put it that way, because I'm not I'm not precious about like.
I will shake your hand to get your score down to a 4.
Exactly. Yeah.
I will up my score to a 4 if you agree to put your score down to a 4.
Yeah. Well, we will meet in the middle, so why not?
4s for everyone.
Yeah, 4s for everyone. Yeah.
Andy.
Shit in it.
Yeah.
No. It is awful. It's really, really bad. I like the scene between Yaz and the Doctor. That I like the design of the Sea Devils. I think they looked good. That was about it. So just because I think I rewatched it once since it aired, but then I hated it just as much and haven't touched it since. What was the one plot that was good?
I kind of tried to explain it, but although I said it was decent, I wouldn't say it's good. The more you try to explain it,
the guy's dad. Okay.
The main central Sea Devil idea, which is that they were inventing something to flood the world, but then lost the central keystone to that.
It was Atlantis, but for
so then
let me sum up my thoughts on this episode this way. This is literally the plot of Pokemon Sapphire. And I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding.
Super jump.
I'm not even kidding. This is literally the plot. The whole we're gonna flood the world so we can inhabit it. That's literally the plot of Pokemon Sapphire. That they took the plot from a kid's game.
Oh, I'm sure
I'm
if you
saying
look
that as if I don't love Pokemon,
at
but
least
still.
one class.
But Chibnall's down with the kids. They love to Pokemon.
Yeah, I mean I love Pokemon, but it's still.
How'd you get Pikachu on a bus? Your Pokemon.
Hey.
Or you kick him, the little shit. Get off the bus.
It's so bad. I like the scene between Yaz and the Doctor. The Sea Devils look good. That's about it. Dan was wasted. Like after Flux, Dan did fuck all.
He gets the good joke about his age.
It annoys me as well because I'm in the same boat as George, but I actually really like Dan. I like Dan more than Graham and Ryan. I think Dan, Yaz, and 13 would have been the better TARDIS team for this era. But we literally get 9 episodes, not even 9 episodes, because he's barely in Power of the Doctor, and he's just wasted as a character.
You know what's weird? And again, I'm probably going to be out on an island by myself here, but having just rewatched Power of the Doctor, I know it's only one scene, but I feel like literally just replace Ryan with Dan and have Yaz, Graham, and Dan, and it's somehow even better.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, Tosin Cole, unfortunately, is not the strongest.
Andy, not everybody has to be a Gale.
I just
They can in space.
I'm just gonna say, if you swapped out Dan with Ryan and just gave Ryan the same dialogue Dan had in Legend of the Sea Devils, you would not have told the difference. I don't think Dan had any character in Legend of the Sea Devils. You have a little gag that he has about the age, but
I mean,
it's just like dialogue. And you know the meme of like, oh, Chibnall throwing a dart at the pictures and like, oh, what companion is this bit of dialogue going to land on? That's exactly what this episode was. And I felt, give the same dialogue to Ryan, you wouldn't have been able to tell the difference. That's why Dan had
the main positive between Ryan and Dan is that John Bishop can act. So,
I suppose, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I gave it a 2. Yes. I think it's bad.
Yep. It's shit. Shall we, Andy, do you want to say some nice things about Power of the Doctor as we finally died with the end?
Power of the Doctor! It's actually pretty great, and I'm so happy Chibnall stuck the landing despite the little criticisms I have. I went into this genuinely worried I was going to hate it and was very surprised by the end that I actually kind of loved it.
I think it worked well because he just ignored half of the stuff and went, I'm just going to make a fan wanky 90-minute episode. And from everything we'd had before, it kind of just worked in that aspect. It was like, you know what, fuck everything, you know what, you're not going to get payoff, but I'm just going to give fan service and it's going to mostly work.
I'm going to reiterate what you said earlier, where coming off the back of Legend of the Sea Devils, anything would have felt good. So maybe that was part of it, but like I thought this was great. It's really good. I have issues with it. Like I've already mentioned the whole Timeless Child thing and how I don't like how that got no payoff whatsoever. But I also agree with the sentiment that this, like, I almost feel like there'd have been too much going on in this episode if they had have put it in. So again, that's not really a fault of this episode as much as it is just a fault of just the way Chibnall has written the arc. Yeah, it's not really a fault with this particular episode. I didn't particularly like how Dan left.
No, but he was on tour, wasn't he, John Bishop?
It makes sense, but at the same time, I was just kind of like, he wasn't even in it. He didn't even really get a proper goodbye. So I was like, what?
Yeah,
okay.
It was just like, oh, I'm going to sleep on my mum's sofa, and the doctor's like, oh, yeah, bye.
I disagree. I think he did have a good goodbye scene, but again, I've just watched it.
How? I think he dropped off. The doctor doesn't give a shit about him.
The thing is, like, I really like Bradley Walsh, but why was Graham in the volcano and why wasn't it Dan? Like, if Dan had gone off at the beginning, like, I can't do this is too dangerous, but then had been like the rescuer in the volcano, like it'd just been like, yeah, I'm here to help, and he had his wok, and like it's a wok and a baseball bat against the Daleks. Like,
again, I can't really say with any certainty, but supposedly it's just because John Bishop wasn't available to film.
Yeah, because he started his tour, I think, when they started filming or whatever. But it was they'd kind of been written into the corner of he was in it, and they had to get him out of the way of it.
But I did wonder if there was something like that. But
then if Legend of the Sea Devils was filmed after this or written after this, and John Bishop, he could have been just written out in Legend of the Sea Devils, surely, and then they didn't have to.
Not if they'd already filmed this and they've given him his end scene, because it's so linked into the pre-credits of Power of the Doctor, because it's like, oh, I was one hand away from getting sucked into space, and I had been shot in the helmet, and
sounds painful.
Yeah,
fair enough. I mean, he was
Kinda
only in it for
seen
like
it,
10 minutes. They could have just reshot that, and it's so CGI heavy, like it's not even that practical.
Yeah, but then you'd have even less of Dan in the episode.
No, but
And maybe
you've
it's
hit him out the episode before, which is more
But
like we
else-
agreed would
yeah.
have been better.
I think Chibnall was just written into a corner and didn't really think it through. It was kind of just like, I've accidentally written him a goodbye scene, but he's in this episode, so I'm just gonna, leave him homeless on the street outside of Anfield and hope for the best.
That's a good exit, in my opinion.
Oh,
I
Mike,
mean,
why do you like that? Why do you like that? I'm intrigued.
I've literally just watched it and I like it because I think the interplay between Dan and Yaz is really good. When he say, I think Dan's reasons are actually quite genius, and even the Doctor acknowledges,
but why wasn't Diane there?
Well, he was going for a date with her. To be fair, it was acknowledged, but
Well, in an ADR line of bit of dialogue, and then he just forgets about it because at the very end, there's no reference to Diane. It's just like Graham and Dan.
it's not. It's
How's
not
Diane?
from him. It's not from him, and it's not ADR because it's pretty straight on. The Doctor says, got you back in time for your date.
It's
I'll pick you
ADR.
up in 24 hours.
When it's said,
really not.
he's got his back turned to the screen. It's very
it's not
clearly
even-
recorded in the studio. He's climbing
It's
down
not
the
him
ladder.
saying it, Will, for fuck's sake.
He literally says, "I've got why am I doing this?" As he climbs down the ladder, I've got a date to get to. What do you mean he doesn't say
No,
that?
but I'm not on about that scene. I'm on about when the Doctor parks the TARDIS and says, "Right, got you back in plenty of time for your date. I'll come back and pick you up in 24 hours."
Oh, well,
and
that
he
bit's
kind
not
of
fucking
looks all
idiotic.
forlorn for a bit and then goes, "You don't have to come back." And
Okay,
then
so
gives
there's
the
two
whole thing about,
references to
I
it.
don't want to keep
We got our
pushing my
wires
luck.
crossed.
Yeah. Yeah.
As always.
can I continue? Or was it-
Yeah. Sorry, carry on.
No, I really liked a lot of. In fact, where's my? I'm gonna go on my Twitter because I did basically an entire sort of thread about the episode when it aired, and I haven't tweeted much since then. So I'm just gonna read everything I put on that thread. Let me find.
While you're finding that, I will just say that I really did like the Guardians of the Edge stuff. I think it was a good way to include those Doctors, but not make it a thing, like to not have it be sort of like just gratuitous. I think it worked for it added to the lore a bit, that all the consciousness exists still within the Doctor's mind and body in some way. I think Sacha Dhawan, best performance for him as the Master, because he's literally hamming it up on 3 different levels, and I love it. And I think the Rasputin stuff and the reaction between the Daleks and the Cybermen is, second to none.
Okay, I found it. Right, so this was the thread I put on Twitter right after the episode aired, and I still stand by pretty much all of this. So, Sacha Dhawan is incredible and honestly glued the entire convoluted plot together sublimely. He deserves way more episodes, but was incredible in the ones he actually did get. So that was my first point. I dislike how Dan just left at the start quite a lot, which I still do stand by, even though the character's reasons were solid. I kind of agree with George. It would have felt nice if he'd have been the one to come back instead of Graham. But yeah, Jodie and Mandip were both on top form. I do think Mandip especially was brilliant in this episode. I love how much Ace and Tegan were involved. I wasn't expecting to have such integral roles, but I'm very happy that they did. Which again, true. I thought they were just going to be a bit have a few cameo moments just for fan service. But then no, they were basically throughout the entire episode. So that was really cool. Speaking of them, the moments they got with the Doctors brought tears to my eyes. Again, yeah, still did make me cry. The bits with Tegan and Five, and then Ace, and especially the Ace and Seven bit, just because I love Ace and Seven so much.
And we had no payoff to them because obviously the last time we saw them, they were walking away.
Galloping down a field.
The tea's getting cold. It's so bloody cold.
Andy, we're more than okay. We're Ace.
Anyways.
My favourite bit of that was, sorry Andy, my favourite bit of that was when he's all children leave home in the end. The joy comes from watching them fly. I think that was
a really fucking cute line.
That was a really nice scene, yeah. I have vivid memories of me and Phil watching this and crying together. We just held hands and cried together because Phil's Seven and Ace are Phil's favourite classic team, and from watching it with him, they've also become my favourite classic team, sort of alongside Four and Sarah. So that moment really got to us. The plot felt like it was. The plot did feel like it was all over the place, but I'm glad it was at least somewhat brought together in some form of a coherent story, kind of. The Master playing Rasputin as he announced his plan to the Doctor was the campest, most glorious moment of this entire era. Agree, still stand by that. Probably my favourite moment of the entire. It was just so stupid, and I loved it. It was, yeah. I hate how little Joe Martin got in. Got in not just this episode, but the entire era. Her Doctor deserves so much more. Speaking of, I said my final thoughts on the timeless child art would rest on how it was tied up, and it wasn't. So thanks, I pretty much hate it now. So much wasted potential. On a positive, Kate was pretty great. I really like how all
She did stuff.
She did stuff, yeah, exactly. I really like how all the classic Who nostalgia appearances were handled and brought in. They didn't feel shoved in for fan service. I can fully buy that Graham would make a meeting group for former companions. Although, again, I feel like Dan could also have done that.
Was it Graham? I thought it was the Doctor that had done that.
I thought it was Graham.
No, Graham will go because he says he couldn't have been the only one. And look at me, I'm not. There's Ian Chesterton from episode 1, is what he says.
But it was so good to see Ashad again. I forgot how menacing he was. I still stand by that, although I do feel like I kind of wish he'd have gotten maybe a bit more to do. I feel like as much as I really enjoyed him as a character, because again he was one of the best examples of a modern Who Sidemen we got. His character feel like it kind of dwindled once he was teamed up with the Master, or once the Master got involved, really.
It could have been any Cyberman, really. Like that whole thing of I killed him once, but it's all right because I cloned him. And that I think that sort of done a bit of a disservice to his
all integrity to his identity is gone.
Ascension
all integrity that he once had definitely went and vanished.
Yeah. Well, what was next? I actually really enjoyed the idea of the Master wanting to become the Doctor to ruin their credibility, so he doesn't have to be the Master anymore. It feels fitting for this incarnation. I still stand by that. I know it was just for the sake of it, but I loved seeing Ace in the jacket with the bat doing what she does best. And that's purely just because I love her time in Classic Who. Yaz really has come a long way as a companion. Whilst I don't think she was as developed as most of the previous New Who companions, I really did like her quite a lot by the end. Mandip was stellar as her. Jodie's regeneration was great, beautiful, melancholic, and well written. Stand by that. I've rewatched her regeneration scene quite a few times, and I genuinely love it. I really do. I don't think I actually put this in here, but I actually think her last line is probably my favourite last line.
Yeah, I like it because it fits her Doctor.
It fits her Doctor so well.
Sorry, can I just quickly tell you the line that put me over the top into floods of tears in case I forget it when I come to talk?
Go on.
It wasn't even the last line or anything. It was literally when she says to the TARDIS, "Take care of the next one." That I was gone from that point onwards. I don't know why.
Her regeneration. I think her regeneration did make me cry a little bit at the end. But I do think "Tag You're It" was such a perfect last line for her. That really does fit her character.
Apparently it was edited that way, but it was meant to be the other way around.
Well, you're it, Tag.
No, it was going to be Tag You're It, and then that's the thing. I want to know what happens next. That was the original plan, but then the editor flipped it, and it works so much better.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I think it's because they originally ended it just with the regeneration, which you can tell when they pan out because there was no indication it was continuing. There was no Tennant coming in or anything, so it would have just been, I want to know what happens next, end of episode, which kind of would have made a bit more sense.
Yeah. I put, thank you for not having her regenerate in the TARDIS and blowing it up.
The TARDIS was like,
it makes a change.
The prop was saved.
Her moments with Yaz before she regenerated really did tear me up. But the award for the moments that made me cry the most were the scenes between 5 and Tegan and 7 and 8. Yeah, that's basically it. Yeah. I think that's everything. Yeah, because the rest of it is just my overall view on the era, which we're already doing. So yeah.
So what was your score?
I think I gave it a 9. Let me double check.
Bloody hell. Being generous.
Yeah, I gave it a 9. I loved it.
I would give it a 9 as well.
I think I docked at a point just because it was kind of messy and all over the place for a big chunk of it. But other than that,
blockbuster viewing.
Yeah, given Chibnall's track record, I was just very, very pleasantly surprised that he actually stuck the landing with this one. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I was surprised that we got what we got out of it. In terms of the quality of the episode, I did really enjoy it, and I think the first time viewing and the nostalgia does sort of, it's a bit rose tinted glasses, but I love the stuff with I like how effectively he didn't have to say, like, what am I thinking of all this Cybermen here? Oh, well, you're thinking of Adric when he was killed, and I had to use his badge, and then we played the music in silence and over the credits. It was just, Davison slipped back in seamlessly. I mean, so did Bradley. McGann is just effortlessly suave and fucking gorgeous.
Where is his series, damn it?
Yeah, I think it was a shame that Colin didn't get more to do, because I think you could have, like, having Mel there at the end as well, I think you could have maybe, I mean, probably would have been a push too far, but, like, you could have had, just him spouting on about carrot juice.
Yeah, carrot juice, yeah.
And, no, I really had a lot of fun with it. I think the last line's great. I think, regenerating clothes aside, it was beautiful, like, regeneration scene, and the last line is perfect. I had so much fun with it, and laughed and cried so much with it. I think that it will just hold up better than most of the era, in spite of the fact that it ignores the whole arc. But
Yeah.
I think it's such a great shame that it was one of the better Jodie episodes, but it was too late. 15 minutes for you three to wrap it up. Let's go.
No, we're on a timer. Yeah, so one of the more fun episodes. However, on a rewatch, the episode doesn't kick in until the Master does his Rasputin dance for me. I just thought the first 25 minutes were just a bit of a slog. They were just kind of just not engaging at all. And then until the Master does his infamous scene and his infamous master plan, that's when the episode really did kick in, and the fun factor and everything we felt the first time sunk in. It didn't hold up as much on a rewatch, but I still had a lot of fun with it. Some for the right reasons, some for the wrong, but at the end of the day, Seven and Ace got a bit of classic Whovian justice, which, as a true fan of Doctor Who, not just appreciating the new Russell stuff and Chibnall and Moffat, the real Doctor Who fans, great to see. Paul McGann is a highlight. Colin Baker, yes, I feel like out of all the lines he should have had more to say. However, though, why the fuck was Graham in the volcano? Why was he sent there?
Because the plot...
It's not Warzone. It's not Warzone.
And the throwaway line about Ryan. Also, can I just say, like, does anyone feel like Vinder was a last-minute replacement for Captain Jack? Because
of course.
weren't going to use
Yes.
Of course. I know Mike disagrees, but of course, yeah.
Because what does he do apart from threaten the Master at gunpoint and then leave? And we didn't get any payoff for the, as yet unborn child, which we all thought was going to be, they were going to be the Doctor's parents or some shit. And then
they were going to be
dying.
They were going to be
I mean, I was just appreciating getting to see Jacob Anderson again, to be honest, but that's just me.
Yeah, I like him. Makes great music as well.
I didn't know he did music.
What was your... Yeah, he does... He does music things, yeah. Second album's quite good.
Fuck it, I'd give it an 8.
An 8.
I would have given it 8.5 had the rewatch held up as much. An 8 out of 10, I think. More positive than negative.
And now to the Bert and Ernie of the Sci-Fi reviewing team. It is Mike and Will.
Nah, I do have to agree with Connor. I recently rewatched it like a fortnight ago, and this was after like I got everyone's opinions at university about it, because they're far more casual about me than Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And of course, they kind of saw it from like the more casual angle, so they weren't really into like all the twists of like the Guardians of the Edge and that kind of shit, and like the companions. So through their lens, they absolutely despised it, and I was really shocked, because I was like, okay, the reception on it online is pretty positive. It's like 7 out of 10s being thrown around even by the 13 stands. I was like, okay, so not many people are saying, oh, it's the best thing ever. It's just good. So I thought when I was giving it a 5 out of 10, like decent, it's just a solid middle of the road. The plot is absolute crap, but it's still like a decent episode. There's not much wrong with it, except for that Jodie's barely fucking in it. She's regenerated into Sasha, and then she comes back for the final 5-10 minutes, and then I was like, oh, okay, she's regenerated, that's cool, but there was no build up to it. That's why when she gets blasted, there's a little bit of a surprise. It's like, oh, okay, then that's happening. Regeneration. So effectively they hated it, so I came into a rewatch and I thought, okay, I'm sure I'm gonna like this just as much because of all the twists. They were really, not the twists, just the cameos and fan service. It's gonna hold up. It didn't. And like Connor said, the first 25 minutes, for me, it was the first 45 minutes, because the Rasputin scene was 45 minutes into the episode, which was like over half of the way through the episode. So half of the episode for me was just building up to something that I already knew was going to come. And for the first 45 minutes, it's just plot. And it's like, yeah, I know all this, get to the good stuff. And then we have the Rasputin scene, and then we have Sasha, show up the scenery, take over the episode. In my opinion, I think he steals the show. No offense to Jodie, but Jodie was really good when she was actually in this episode. But then again, we have to consider she was only in 20 minutes at the start and then 10 minutes at the end. She was in 30 minutes of her Generation episode. And that's why, like I said, when she actually gets blasted by the Master, it's like there was no build up to that, in my opinion. It's just like, if I die, Doctor, you do too. And that's like the first glance at a Generation, at like actual her death Generation we actually get. So it kind of felt like a cop out in that respect. And I think Jodie did deserve better. But other than that, in terms of actual problems with the episode, I didn't understand the plots with the girl getting chained up to the planet. For some reason, she was a power source. Like, he has his spare dog. Like, how can a child be a power source? And
I did explain this to you. I explained this to you the night it aired, because I remember you asking me about it.
I know, but I don't particularly understand why that was actually added to the plot. Like, there was just an unnecessary thing that
the Doctor saw what she wanted to protect, basically, isn't it? Like, it's a camouflage thing.
An earthly child.
But then, in the very first scene when the Cybermen attack the train, I hate the color grading. It's so blown out with the blues. That's more of a technical thing, but I just couldn't see what was going on.
You said blue like Boris Johnson.
Blue.
I'm blue, dabba dee dabba die. If I was Dan and I got shot in the face, I could die.
But yeah, the first 45 minutes don't hold up. Sasha was perfect. I think, again, Doctor should have got more to do. There are a few other things with the plot, but otherwise, it's just a decent episode. I watched Harry's Moving Media's review of it from a few days ago that came out, and I think it was just like, and I love him, and he's coming on to Who Game Shows. So, mate, if you're watching this, please don't drop out. But I just thought 90% of your review were nitpicks. And for example, one of them was when Ace was in the museum, and it was like the wall that the wall without the painting, and she takes a picture of it. He's like, if you look closely, you can clearly see that the painting was there, but it was CGI'd out. And I was like, mate, that is an absolute nitpick. What the fuck are you doing?
He's going to drop out now.
I'm sorry, Harry, but it's a decent episode. It's nothing special. The ending is perfect. I love the variation, like the vocalized 13's theme that plays when she regenerates. That's the debut of the vocalized 13's theme. Very lovely.
And your scores on the doors?
And my score is a 5 out of 10. So yeah.
Lovely. Mike, sorry, but you've got like 8 minutes.
Use it wisely.
As we kind of have to give our overall top 10s and stuff, do you want to just carry
No. Power of the Doctor. Go, Mike.
We can go a little bit past 9.
I
just
don't want to. To be perfectly honest, I just don't want to. It's special to me, and I really would just genuinely not have it ruined. So I would have given it a 10 out of 10, and that's genuinely all I really want to say about it.
That's fine. That's fine. You can say that.
I'm not going to say anything. Like, if you want to say, I'm intrigued to know what I'm not going to dispute anything. I just want to get your thoughts on record, because this is it.
I don't know. Like I said, I have only just watched it, and I think for me it does hold together. I don't agree with either Will or Connor saying it doesn't start for a while, because it literally starts with an action sequence. So I don't get that logic at all. I like everybody's I get the genuine criticisms about, like, yes, it might have been nice to have Dan in, but at the same time, I like his exit scene. I like that he comes back at the end, and I like that it's actually just the Doctor and Yaz, because I would have preferred that to have been the case for most of the era. And it's nice that since Yaz is kind of, I think, the only companion that's been, with their entire way through. So it was kind of nice to give her that. I don't think Will is accurate in saying the Doctor's only in that time, because, again, I played it. She's in way more than that, and she's in it as the hologram multiple times. She has the Guardians of the Edge scene. I guarantee she's in more than you were making out there. And if not, her presence has certainly felt, at least for me, throughout the episode.
Fair enough.
So, and yeah, the ending is just really special for me. I think it's probably the best that's been written, because it's just really good. I related to their relationship, and because I care about this Doctor, it was emotional for me watching her die, obviously.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So yeah, and Chibnall didn't make it easy, because it wasn't like she went out on a high. It was quite prolonged and protracted, and like I said, just little lines really hit me and made me want to cry. Like in the companion support meeting, which is a very, I'm going to clap like a walrus, to use Will's not so do us all. In the middle of that, to then have, is she okay? Of course she's okay. She's the doctor. Was just way too much for me. So yeah, just a lot of it that I liked. The plot was fine. I thought it was good, actually. It was.
Yeah.
I kind of saw people's initial complaints about, like, well, why does the Master want to take over the Doctor's body if he's just going to be the Master and look like the Master? And I was like, that's the point. That's one of the rare instances where I'm kind of with Chibnall, because the key to that whole thing is the Master's line, please don't make me be me again. Like, he just wants that fresh start, and he wants the kind of timeless totem powers and whatever else, if you want to look at it that way. And more importantly, it's basically a plot device and an excuse to give you the Guardians of the Edge scene, because you have to have Jodie not quite regenerate and meet the others and be like, people can't steal this body.
I actually really like that plot line as a plot thread for this Master in particular, because it really does feel like this Master was the one who was like, a lot of what he did seemed to be out of anger for the fact that he was who he was. So it kind of fits for me, because he was like... At least in my opinion, he was like that in Series 12 as well. So I actually really like that as a plot thread for Sasha's Master in particular.
Yeah, I agree. And I just think there's a lot of good dialogue. Most of the scenes, if not all of them, I think were really great. It was nice to see Unit again. I liked seeing Ashad again, and Patrick O'Kane, I think he is, as a great actor. And I think it was kind of a stroke of genius to have a Cyberman equivalent of Davros. I think that's why he's in the episode, is because you need somebody to talk. And the Cybermen, if they, even a cyber leader, they can only do so much. They can't emote, and it's kind of boring if they're just like, you will become like us, Kate. You'll be converted. We will give you this great gift.
Excellent.
Exactly. It's not quite as good as
That's something I forgot to say. I genuinely, because of, I don't know why I should have seen that it wasn't going to end up happening, but I genuinely did think for a moment they actually might convert Kate.
Yeah, same. And it was
like, there was a moment where I was on the edge of my seat, like, they're
the cyber family,
like father, like daughter. Yeah,
yeah. I was like, they're actually going to do this, and then they didn't. And on one hand, I was very happy because I really like Kate, and I was, I don't want to see her get converted into a Cyberman. But on the other hand, I was like, that'd be a really interesting plot point if they actually did that. But anyway, yeah, sorry. I just wanted to put that out there before I forgot.
A lot of the praise that I have would just be echoing what you guys were saying. I loved the closure to Seven and Tegan, but I also to Seven and Ace, sorry. But I also kind of, as much as I don't really like that era, I like the relationship of the Fifth Doctor and his companions. So again, call me a clapping walrus if you like, but Braveheart and Adric were moments that I was just, I'm here for it.
I'm with that. Do you want to? So, what was the average scores and top threes for everyone?
Okay, good point.
What have I given you?
Oh shit.
I'll just while I buy you some time, I'll say my top three were in order, like first to third. I will say it was Village of the Angels, War of the Sontarans, Power of the Doctor, and my least favourite was everything else.
I'll give you mine because it's here, so it's right in front of me. I'll say that my top three for Flux and the specials was Village of the Angels, Eve of the Daleks, and Power of the Doctor, and my worst by far was Survivors of the Flux. And even though Flux averaged out at 5 out of 10, the specials, because I gave them 10, 5, and 10, average at 8 out of 10, which means the combined average for both that I get is 6 out of 10.
Awesome.
My top three were in this order: Village of the Angels, Power of the Doctor, War of the Sontarans. Although Eve is quite close there as well. Honestly, I could see Eve taking it maybe on a few more rewatches. And the worst three were Legend of the CDL, Survivors of the Flux, and the Vanquishers. Although Once Upon a Time also not particularly great. If you count the specials in there, overall Series 13 gets 62% out of 100%, which puts it well above Series 11, but a bit below Series 12, which I still have as the best Jodie Whittaker era episode. Do you want my top 10 best and top 10 worst episodes of the era now, or do you want to do that as like an ending thing?
We'll get Will's and then we'll do that.
Sweet. For me, my favorite episodes in this order is War of the Sontarans, Power of the Doctor, and Village of the Angels. And my complete average for Series 13 and specials is 36% approval rating, so a 3.6 out of 10.
It's his favorite show, everybody.
Connor,
I love Series 1 to 6. Love it.
So my favourite three, completely different. Haunting of Iyadea was, I think, the best of this run, just on a single watch.
No, you have top three for 13 and specials.
Well, literally, excuse me, I'm reading 3 fucking episodes. My top three.
That was
Literally,
series 12. Village Diodati was series 12.
Oh, I thought we were
Flux
just talking
on the
about the whole
specials.
era. I thought
No,
we were
that's
just talking about the
after.
whole era. Bloody hell,
You
man.
can do that once you've said it.
Do it.
It's
Do
all
it.
Breathe. Breathe.
Well, fucking hell. It
Breathe.
didn't specify.
Breathe, you
Well,
gentle giant.
Power of the Doctor, Eve of the Daleks, and if I'm going to have to say one from Flux, Weeping Angels, Village of Angels.
And your top 10 of the era.
Fuck me.
Will,
No,
top
thanks, not
three
yet.
from the specials in Flux? Oh, yeah, we did. Sorry.
I don't know my top 10. I'm just going to bow out of that.
I'm just going to do, right, so 10 to 1, fuck it. Ascension of the Cybermen, Revolution of the Daleks, Eve of the Daleks, Resolution, Village of Angels, Kablam, Fugitive of the Jadoon, Power of the Doctor, Rosa, then Haunting and Via Diodati.
That's a solid top 10. Nice. Andy?
My top 10. I'll do top 10 worst first, just because I feel like I want to end it on a positive. Top 10 worst, in no particular order, are The Vanquishers, Orphan 55, Praxius, Survivors of the Flux, Spyfall Part 2, The Ghost Monument, Arachnids in the UK, The Saranga Conundrum, Legend of the Sea Devils, and The Battle of Ranskar of Kolos. And my top 10 favourite episodes of the era are Nikola Tesla's Night of Terror, Resolution, Spyfall Part 1, War of the Centaurans, Fugitive of the Jadoon, Kablam, Power of the Doctor, Revolution of the Daleks, The Haunting of Villa Diodati, and Village of the Angels as my absolute favourite.
Okay, go next.
Enough.
Okay. Should I go next?
Yeah, you can go next, mate.
I'll go 10 to 1 for my worst 10 then and tell you that it was Legend of the Sea Devils was 10, then Orphan 55, then It Takes You Away, Once Upon a Time, Praxius, The Vanquishers, The Ghost Monument, Arachnids in the UK, Battles of Rastas and Fat Boys, and then Survivors of the Flux.
Very good.
Jesus.
Lovely wordplay there.
Nice, thank you. My overall top 10 from 10 to 1 were Timeless Children, War of the Centaurans, Resolution, Ascension of the Cybermen, Can You Hear Me, The Witchfinders, Eve of the Daleks, Demons of the Punjab, Village of the Angels, and The Power of the Doctor.
Nice.
Oh, and if anyone's curious, my average for the whole era comes through at 6.5 out of 10, which I guess would be 65%.
Oh,
Awesome.
I could do that. 1 minute. I'm going to very quickly do some calculations, see what my overall...
And while you do that, go on, Will, what yours? Top 10?
Awesome. So I don't have a top 10 worst, weirdly, but I do have a top 10 best, and I haven't done it in any order. I've done it chronologically, in fact. And these aren't my top 10 best. I'm just saying these are the top 10 most competent in terms of these are the ones that I can cut.
Yeah, I'm amazed if you can find 10.
Yeah, 10 episodes that I find decent or better. These are The Woman Who Fell to Earth, Rosa, Demons of the Punjab, Kerblam, Spyfall Part 1, Nikola Tesla Night of Terror, Fugitive of the Jadoon, Ascension of the Cybermen, War of the Centaurans, and Power of the Doctor. Those would be the 5 out of 10s or above for me.
Fair enough.
Okay.
I would say, while Andy's still working his out, I will say that my top 10 are... I'll go from 1 to 10 because I remember the top one was Villa Diodati, and then Demons of the Punjab, Rosa, what else? Witchfinders, obviously. I think Kablam's in there as well. Yeah, you know what? I put Kablam in there. Woman Who Fell to Earth, Power of the Doctor.
Okay. Did you and Connor not want to give your worst 10?
Yeah, so from 21 to 30.
I've got 5 that I've got
that you'd absolutely shit on.
I've got 5 that I really didn't like, and that was Legend of the Sea Devils, Vanquishers, Survivor of the Flux, Orphan 55, and Arachnids in the UK.
They're all in my bottom 10 as well. Weird.
So my worst 5 from 27 to 31, I'd say Ghost Monument, Battle of Ranskor, Kolos, Once Upon a Time, Orphan 55, and the worst, which I can't fucking stand, that I would delete from the Shadow Proclamation from the Panopticon Archive, the Saranga Conundrum. What a fucking conundrum it was.
That's another
Delete it.
situation where we'll
Delete
be on
it.
my side and not fully hating it.
Yeah.
I'm taking that.
They fucking wasted Roy Kent.
I mean, I don't have like a top 10 negative one, but I do have the episodes that I just hate. So it's The Ghost Monument, It Takes You Away.
We could be here a while, folks. Thank you for watching.
He doesn't have a top 10 worst episodes because the rest of the era are all the ones he hates.
So it's those, then it's The Vanquishers, then it's Eve of the Daleks,
10 that he tolerates.
Legend of the Sea Devils, and that's it. So that's like 6 or 7 that I actually despise.
Yeah. Did you have an average, Andy, for the era?
Yes, it rounded out quite nicely to almost bang on 60%. It was 60.1.
That's awesome. You know what? And that is a nice way on which to end this epic 3-part trilogy of...
trilogy.
Well, essentially what we've done is just wasted time. But I would like to thank my esteemed guests. Thank you, Andy, Will, and Mike, for joining me and being part of it. I know, like, you know, this last bit as well. Like thanks for doing this and just rounding it off.
Thanks for being the one that has to edit all of this.
I love that no one's noticed my name again either. I've changed my name a few times in this, and no one's noticed.
I noticed. I just didn't feel like acknowledging it.
I clapped and made sounds.
Insert them in the edit. Insert them,
but not with my hands. Yeah, thank you guys for joining. You'll have to find out in our next retrospective if you guys are ever up for doing this again.
Is that only available on the Pasty Sheep OnlyFans?
It's I call it the Templar cut. I really appreciate you taking the time out to do this. It has been a long old slog, and to you, anyone that has watched all 3 parts back to back, or
I'm so sorry.
just one at a time, I fucking apologise for it so much. It's hard for us to be very negative. Maybe it comes easier to Will. I don't know. But,
three of us could be very
to the Twitter fan base.
I will say that it's a show that we all collectively love, and it's mixed, and it's been nice to kind of talk it through, and have very different opinions, really, when you think about it. And hopefully we can come back for the other Doctors if you guys are up for it down the line.
Absolutely,
we'll see.
Like Mike said, it is my favorite show, and I know I'm quite negative towards this particular era, but it's still 40% approval. It's not the worst thing I've ever watched, and because I love the show so much, I'm naturally going to be a bit passionate about it. And especially when we're in an era where there's a lot of nitpicky and there's a lot of bigotry, at least with my criticisms, I actually have to kind of justify what I think about an episode. So that's why I go into such depth and detail about why I dislike an episode. So I hope that I've come across well and not just said, "Oh, this is shit," because of fuck it.
I'm going to be honest with you, Will.
I wouldn't have had you any other way.
I
disagree.
disagree, but whatever.
It's fine. It's been a pleasure to shoot the shit with you fine gentlemen, and hopefully you've enjoyed it at home too. If you want to subscribe for some fucking reason, at Pasty Sheep, across Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and there's a TikTok account that we don't actually use. And if you want to, tell us why you think that, some of the stuff that we all said was wrong, then email us at nerdbiblecontact@gmail.com, and don't forget to follow these 3 gentlemen in their endeavours across space and time, and mainly the internet.
Did we get any questions?
No.
Ran out of budget.
No, I think we had one from Jamie, but I've
from
lost
Jamie,
it. But yeah, go on. You
it was
read that
Camille
one.
made the Rasputin scene is the best scene ever.
Oh, I forgot to say that. Yeah, that is so hilarious. The fact that somebody, and I presume it was Jim or whoever the director is, had the moment where a Dalek and Cyberman just literally turn heads at each other, like, what the f?
Speaking of nitpicks, I hate how the Dalek is literally staring at the Cyberman's neck. It's not actually pointing up, but that's what you call a nitpick.
Shut the fuck up, Will.
That is the only nitpick I've made all episode.
Thank you, everyone. We will see you next time, and it will be a long while before we do another one of these again. Good night.
Release in a year. 60th anniversary. 60th anniversary.
Will, you might hate the 14th Doctor. You never know. Cut to next November. Bye.
Bye.